First of all, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well. What'd you do today?
I did the gym, my normal routine.
Are you like 5 a.m. gym guy?
4 a.m.
Get out of here.
I don't sleep ever since past July last year. I don't sleep past. Actually, it's weird this week because every single day this week, I've been waking up at 2:26 in the morning without an alarm clock.
What time do you go to bed?
9.
You go to bed at 9?
I'm tanked by 9.
So what? You get your senior citizens dinner, and then you go. You're like, oh, Jeopardy's over. It's time to go to bed.
We're both in bed by 9. I'll crash. I wake up at like 2:30. Try to fall back asleep till about 3:30. Wake up, go do my stuff, make breakfast, measure everything out. I'm usually on the road by like.
What do you mean measure everything out?
I'm just on that type of a diet.
You a shake guy?
I love protein shakes. Yeah.
Wait, so what are you measuring?
So I'm on something called macros.
Keep going.
It's everybody's body works off a certain combination of fats, proteins, carbs. So I had to figure out what combination my body worked at in order to lose weight. So
what are you measuring?
Everything's measured in grams. So like I have.
So what, you figure out your body weight and then?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with the body weight. It's just, so I had to hire somebody to try and teach me what I needed to do and tweak it. And so he would be like, oh no, up your, how many grams of carbs you're eating for the day, or up your grams of fats for the day, or proteins. So I found out I'm very carb and fat sensitive. So I'm more protein.
So carbs and fats trigger you? Come on, dude, that was good. That wasn't bad. Well, yeah. That wasn't bad. But what do you measure? Like nuts and bolts and like?
No,
what
so every morning I have 200 grams of. I throw the spinach. I don't have to worry about because anything leafy, leafy green, you can just consume as much as you want of that. So it's like I eat 200 grams of egg whites a morning. So it's like a cup.
Like Rocky.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually buy a gallon size of egg whites.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it just makes it easier. And then 30 grams of oatmeal, 50 grams of berries, a banana. Come back from the gym, I'll have a protein shake. Lunch is 150 grams of chicken, 100 grams of green beans, 75 grams of baked potato. Dinner is same amount of chicken, same amount of green beans, and it's either rice or potato, but it's either 100 or 75 grams of rice. Can't remember which one that is, and then I can put it on a tortilla. A carb sensitive tortilla, so it doesn't have as you have to, or at least that's what it says.
Yeah, carb sensitive is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard.
But it makes sense because it's. I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't really care.
Carb sensitive tortilla.
It's working. I started on Memorial Day.
Are those carbs?
But no, there's carbs and shit that you wouldn't even think of, like broccoli. Broccoli has carbs. But
really?
They're the good carbs. But so there's simple carbs and there's complex carbs. So like oatmeal is a complex carb. Your pasta, it's made, so that's a simple carb.
How? You were really into health.
Yeah,
younger.
No. When I was younger, like when I was 20.
No, but I mean, like for the whole time I've known you, you've been very cognizant of your health.
But you knew me at my second transformation. Like when I was. What are you, fucking
Voltron? Like
I'm in the third form.
Yeah. I am. But see, this is not. So when I was in high school, like I ballooned up to 315, and then I for whatever reason I decided to get really healthy. I couldn't find my pants at Walmart, so I was like.
So what was this? 20 years ago?
Yeah. So I lost over 100 pounds. I went from 315 down to $196.
Wait, how long? What years? How old were you when you lost all that weight?
20.
So in 1 year you lost that much weight?
I think it took me about a year and a half.
Okay.
So that was then. So I had my routine. I just did it. When you're a kid, like you just go to the gym and you just eat protein. You just Then when I was 30 and I had my first breakup, I. They say
wait 13
30. Oh, so they say in our
his heart broke at 13 and he couldn't stop eating raspberry crimpets.
No, they say in the lifting world, like bodybuilder or breakups build bodybuilders. So like that was just my way of I needed.
Is that what it is? It's all relationship trauma.
It's all just sad guys lifting out their emotions.
I'll show her.
There's two situations of it going down there down at the gym now. So I'm a social butterfly. I mean,
it seems like something that you should that a lot of people have found solace in. Yes. Yeah. Which is very bizarre. You go from a mentally unhealthy situation to then trying to make your body healthy.
Yes.
And probably in the midst of that, you, whether implicitly or not, you kind of learn how to do some sort of whatever it is that is your own meditation.
Well, the same thing like what you found like in your transformation, like with the whole meditation thing.
Yeah,
you do come to a higher inner self, I guess you could say. So I mean, by me doing something good for my body and learning because and that's the thing.
Well, like, it takes time too, and it's repetitive,
right? So, but the same thing happened. Like I had to relearn my body because whatever I did when I was 20, whatever I did when I was 30, it wasn't working now that I'm pushing 40.
So I think a big part of it too is, and I don't know if you ever heard this from the wise philosopher John Cena, but he was once talking because he was a bodybuilder before he got into wrestling and everything, and an athlete, obviously. But what he said, thing that he said that kind of resonated with me once was that we take our cars in for regular maintenance, right? We do oil changes. As a society, we're very cognizant of maintaining these things, but nobody thinks of treating your body like a car.
Yes.
So we should be doing this maintenance and this exercise and lifting and everything. That it's actually maintenance for your body, which will keep it running better, keep it running healthier, and put you in that better mind frame.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I agree with too, but what I found out, no one really knows about what my transition is publicly, so that's just between us for now.
But you lost weight, so you have to be able to say.
I can't tell them how.
But you have to say you do feel better, right? Mentally, everything.
Yeah, when you can see all of your penis, it doesn't. Well, it does help your psyche a bit.
But not only that, though, but just your energy alone. So I know, because I can easily say this, because even me, just losing the 30 pounds in the last 2 months, like my energy level is through the roof as compared, because you're not carrying around two 20-pound dumbbells anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
A lot of people don't look at it that way.
No.
It's like, hey, if you're supposed to be 200 pounds and you're 300 pounds, you're basically walking around with like the shit the dudes in Afghanistan have to carry.
Right. Because they're about 60 pounds. So so when I did that my first time, like when I lost 100 pounds, that's like literally carrying like 2 45-pound plates everywhere.
On your back.
Yes.
Even as a high schooler, you were like, hey, this isn't sustainable. Like, because eventually you're gonna be in agony, right? So you've been cognizant of like what actual fuel goes in the car, for quite a while, and what your weight fluctuates, right? Because if you're losing 30 pounds, well, because it was a fucked up year, that's why.
Well, I was gonna say that was gonna be our segue, because like my thing was like last year, like it was really starting to take a toll. Like I didn't even want to go out and do my normal gigs because I was like, I don't feel comfortable. I have to go out and buy new clothes.
So there was zero desire to just.
Yeah, it just fucks you up like mentally. I had zero confidence.
That whole situation.
Like how you know me, like I'm a social butterfly, but like if you knew me in high school before I did my transition, I didn't talk to anybody, nobody.
But you were like, what do you call those people? Introverts?
A hermit.
But what would you do when you would be alone?
I was better alone.
Just like you were just playing Dr. Mario?
I drew, so I did a lot of that. Did a lot of my own stuff. I just didn't go out and party.
You found all the things that you could do by yourself that could give you at least an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I know and that I love about you is that you are, for the most part, very optimistic.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah. Everything about you gives me joy.
Which is why I love my wife, because she's
a glass half empty
all the time.
Yeah, she's like, comments coming.
We balance each other out.
So can you kind of this and you know how it is, man. Like we have to be careful about like what we say, especially when it comes out into the public, which is such a bizarre thing to have to state in 2021, is that we have to watch literally what we say. But you have an experience that is more real to you than anything that an ad or the news could tell you. So I remember when COVID hit and I was absolutely terrified. I remember going for, it was when there was the run on toilet paper, and I went to, so they did the shutdown, and then within like 3 or 4 days, I was like, we need food. Like we need more food. So I remember going to the store thinking I always tried to understand what it felt like if you had the choice, if there was a gunman and you had to choose between you and your kid, what would it feel like to stand in front of that gun when you made that choice? And I remember that moment. I'll never forget that moment. It was profound to me. The moment of like, this is what it's like to stand in front of the gun and take one for somebody you love. Because my wife wanted fucking eggs or something. Right. And then I started what are you laughing at?
I'm clearing my throat.
Oh, okay. I thought he's back there laughing. And then I started to think to myself, like, what I was non-essential. I couldn't work. I couldn't collect a paycheck. I've never filed an unemployment in my life, which is still a saga that's been going on since April of 2020. Still haven't received a nickel. But I remember starting to actually say, okay, I know how this works. I know how like what they're telling us works. I know how what they're saying works. Are they telling us the truth? And I believe it was the doctors, do you remember those 2 doctors in like Bakersfield? They were like the first people to come out.
California.
Yeah, they were in Bakersfield. It was like it was like the conference room news conference. It was they were wearing gray scrubs.
I think that's where they made the case of shutting people up with YouTube.
That's where I went, okay, why, if I can watch Inner Earth videos and I could watch how videos about how Hitler went to Brazil and cloned himself, and those people are going to eventually take over the world on YouTube. If I can look at Sandy Hook denier videos on YouTube, Inner Earth, the gamut will never end. The 5G, all that shit. Why would you take 2 doctors, legit doctors, medical school, they have patients, they have recurring patients, they have their own private practices. Why would you shut them the fuck up?
Right.
Which started me down like, are they right? Are they telling the truth? Which over the months, I'm sure you were thinking the same things. Yeah, we can't play that, Dan. We can show their pictures though.
Yeah.
Those are the 2.
Yep.
One of those doctors now, if I'm not mistaken, is part of the FLCC, which is the Frontline COVID Care Critical Care Network. So I'm sure. Did you start thinking that from the beginning? Were you like, hey, something's weird?
Yeah, I think from all the conversations that you and I had that we're both.
We weren't even talking at that time.
We weren't. No, not that we. I mean, nothing.
It was the end of the world. I didn't talk to anybody for like 2 months.
Well, I wanted to talk about or mention that like when this whole thing first started. Yeah, my mind was right where yours was. It was like, this is the apocalypse. Like this is. I think for a good solid month, I was like, I'll take the 15 days to flatten the curve, and I'll focus on my website and my social media that I never get to touch, but help everybody else out with, and
right.
Focus on that. And then you hear something on news like this, and you're like, well, I'm not going to have a website to worry about. I should be going out and buy some canned food and some guns and start doomsday prepping. So it was last year was a mess, but yeah, the more I started listening to the news and diving in deep into it and doing my own research, I'm like, yeah, something's not adding up.
So that's gonna. Do you think a lot of people had that moment where they're like, wait a second, 2 + 2 is not 4 in this situation? Because when you start shutting people up who have degrees that have an M period, D period, or a P period, H period, D period, you start to go, well, wait, what makes them?
Is that not how science works?
That's what I thought.
We should listen to all these different opinions and questions and have communication, because I may not be thinking of the same thing that you're thinking, that you might be looking at it from a whole new angle. So why wouldn't we listen to those doctors and those scientists? They're questioning stuff.
So when all this first happened, what was your social circle like? For case in point,
Chad doesn't have friends.
Okay, well, when this first occurred, right, me and Mark were like you were the only person I saw in person and spoke with. Like, we were there when we got the announcement that like Scranton was shutting down. I was at your house.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then we would meet up like once or twice a week. We'd hang out and we would just talk about what's going on with the world and these events that are happening, and kind of being able to play our thoughts off of each other. So we weren't 100% isolated from the world and only seeing what was provided to us from media and everything. So like, I'm kind of like wondering, how did you survive through it? Like you and your wife, and did you have a circle?
Or at least the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, so yeah, I didn't really have any. I mean, we had our we call it the same thing. We call it like our little circle. You know, like have my
bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like my father-in-law, my mother-in-law. Like we were still visiting them. I wasn't seeing my mom and my dad as much, just because they're a little bit more of a distance. And they were saying keep your distance anyways. And I knew he had some issues, so I was doing my due diligence. You know, just trying to because we had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I knew people who were microwaving their mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like wiping shit down coming in from the mail and and like
the crazy thing is when if you don't have an iPhone, but they'll give you like the memories.
Mm-hmm.
And if I look at like my memories from around that time, it was psychotic.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolute paranoia, fear, psychosis.
Well, when you were just talking about something, I was going to try to see if I could find a photo real quick. I remember going to Sam's Club when you were talking about, doing all the purchasing and the toilet paper.
Right.
I could have swore I took a photo of Sam's Club, and I remember the lines were Jesus back by. I
remember going. So my whole journey thing was immediately like, we need to eat better. We need to do all this stuff. And I remember like even before it got shut down, being up at Wegmans, and the elderly were the ones like, you got to watch out for them. And they were the ones who would not get out of the way. You know what I mean? So every aisle I was in, like every time somebody who was that looked like they were above 60 turned the corner, they just kept coming at me. It was like I didn't know what to do. So I ran. Like that's how much fear there was. It's
mm-hmm.
like, and I think the thing is like at the very beginning, they made all of us think that we were suicide bombers,
mm-hmm.
and we had no idea if we were wearing a jacket or not. And we had no idea who was holding the detonator.
Right. Yeah.
That's the type of fear that was going through everybody. Like,
mm-hmm.
am I going to blow up? Or if I blow up, how many people am I taking with me? Or I might not blow anybody up and I'm gone. You know, it was just all these crazy things.
Well, we still have friends.
Yes.
That literally get excited. Like they may think, we may think they think like us. And then all of a sudden, like, when somebody gets, sick in their circle, and then all of a sudden, what do? They start backing away and do,
yeah.
It's like, it's not like that. Like, I get this is serious. But I mean, it's not like I'm going to go up and suck face with you.
Right.
Like what happened to normal common sense? Like when you catch a cold, you do your due diligence.
So maybe right around like probably like late April to like mid-May was where I started to go.
That was about my time too.
That something's not adding up.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to sound like a tinfoil hat person. At that time,
I'm proud to wear that hat now.
Well, now I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just started to question a lot of things, and there was a lot of people who were, Micah was very pivotal to, me not taking a bridge. He was like the voice of reason, and so was Dan. Like Dan was very pivotal because like those conversations, like Dan would be the guy who's like, if I'm like, yo, man, this girl loves me, he's like, does she? So I'm like, well, wait, what do you mean? Like Dan's not in a contrarian way, but in a way that is very, common sense, rational. Don't get emotional about, your good feelings or your bad feelings, like your fears or your desires, because they're probably lying to you.
I am a very, like you, optimistic person, glass half full all the time. But I do have a logistical side of my brain that says, let's just look at the facts. Let's just break it all down, take that emotion out, because that's never the answer.
Well, the crazy thing about it is like during the midst of this, my wife and I were just watching, like we had nothing to do. So we were watching Star Trek and shit. Mm-hmm. And I started to think to myself, I'm like, well, wait, why are the Vulcans the ones solving all the problems?
So we have a game fetish. So we have like every version of Monopoly. We played on.
I would throw it. I would throw it all out the window and light it on fire. But so with the Vulcans, I don't know anybody. Do you know Star Trek?
I'm not as much as a Star Trek fan.
The Vulcans are supposed to be unemotional. There's no emotions. It's all logic. It was Spock.
Spock.
Oh,
those other ones are Klingons.
I was thinking the Klingon.
No, the Vulcans were the ears.
Okay, yeah.
They were very just rational logic, and that's all it was. So I was like, that's not a bad way to go, because usually emotion's the thing that really screws up whatever it is you're trying to do. So I started
100%.
to think like a Vulcan. And that's kind of how like I moved forward. It was just take the emotion out of it, take the fear porn out of it, take all the, one death is terrible, right?
I think that's where you and I are really, really different right now, as far as where you're at and where I'm at. Like I told you before we walked in here, like and leading up to it, I was like, I really don't want to get pissed off and start, showing that side of me. Cause I mean, like, this is a touchy subject.
If you flip my table,
you
buy it, bitch.
It's a touchy subject for me because there was a lot of shit that just went sideways and it doesn't add up. And we got, roadblocks thrown in our way that shouldn't have been.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to get to is that, I'm sure, one of the things that I remember distinctly thinking in my Vulcan mind was it was one of the first times I came back to the office after about 6-8 weeks. And I remember standing out front by North Washington Avenue by Cooper's. And I remember thinking to somebody I think my father or my mother called me to tell me that somebody we knew caught COVID. And I remember saying, well, what are they doing? And this is in April, May. And what I was told was he took NyQuil. That's what they gave him. And I thought, man, that is strange to just give NyQuil. And then that eventually turned into stay home until you turn blue.
So to add to that, that's the other confusing thing that, it added to the whole thing. Like I heard my fair share of people catching COVID as well.
Right.
And nobody was on the same page as far as what we're throwing at it. I heard steroids. I heard Z-Packs. I know somebody that literally close in the family that, we came back from a trip and what was the first thing they prescribed him? Hydroxychloroquine.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That she was prescribed hydroxychloroquine and then sent.
And this isn't crazy because Fauci put it. It was Fauci recommended it at the beginning of COVID. Right. He recommended it HKQ or HQ, whatever the fuck it's called.
But she was given that drug and then sent home and do your due diligence, do your 14-day quarantine.
Right.
And then I haven't heard. I only heard. I did hear one. Well, my dad had the remdesivir.
Well, that's what I want to get to.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to paint a picture where your headspace is at the time, so you don't seem like a lunatic when you tell the story. Does that make sense? So it can't be like with no basis of like where. Right. So in essence, you've always been, for at least the last 20 years, cognizant of your health.
Yes.
You've always been aware of other people's health.
Yes.
In terms of being cautious.
Mm-hmm.
And you've always been empathetic to other people. If they feel a certain way, you're not going to infringe upon that. So how did you get COVID? Do you think you got COVID?
So I was very, very, I'm stubborn. I think.
Sure. It explains why you're still wearing a bandana after I've told you for a decade to stop. Yeah. You're very stubborn.
Yeah. My wife can definitely attest to that one.
Yeah. It's not like you have bad hair, man. You got a good head of hair.
No, yeah. I love the fact that I'm a ginger. It's funny because when I was a kid, I hated being a ginger. Hated it because the moms would always pinch your cheeks and be, "Look at the cute little ginger."
And then you tell them you're going to steal their soul later.
Basically.
Yeah.
So I'm very stubborn. So let me back up and so let's start here. Was going out of my mind with everything that was going on because like I'm not built to stand still. So I needed to do something and just enjoy life because so my family has a condo down in South Carolina. So we're like, oh, let's go down and just South Carolina. They were pretty much open compared to us,
right?
Let's go and we get enjoy it. So that was a real nice breath of fresh air. So we go down, we're doing our thing. Hitting the beaches up, we went out drinking one night. And it was nice just to taste life again. And then I came back and then, I was over my parents' house. I came back because I told him I'd, help him out putting this sticker on his truck that he wanted me to do for him. So I'm over there and I'm doing it. And, coincidentally that day when I was over there, he had something going wrong with his TV. So he had a technician over, I won't say the company name.
Verdo.
So he's over there. The technician's over there, and so he's trying to juggle both of us. Not that he needed me, but he wanted. Right. He hasn't seen me that much.
Yeah, because you're his son,
right?
Yeah.
So he wanted to come out and see me. So we're BSing. So he has to go in. He has to go in and talk with this guy, and he's on the computer because he has to contact his, the companies, and he's dealing with that. And so I come in, and I'm being cautious, just like everybody, like with this whole thing, like don't put your hands in your mouth and all that stuff. And so when I get done, because I needed to borrow scissors from my mom, so I'm like, Mom, you have alcohol, I can just wipe this down.
Right.
Just trying to be safe. So I'm doing that. And before I left, he was still on the phone. I didn't want to be rude to him, so I was like, Dad, how I do the fist pound thing.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, that lives in infamy in my brain because that's literally the only touch that I had with him. I gave him a fist pound. And what blew him through my mind is I can't remember that day if I did this really quick, just nonchalantly, not thinking of it. And then I fist pounded him. Is that how he got it? So going forward, because that day when I was there, I had 0 symptoms. And then 2 days later, because that was a Tuesday when I was there, by Thursday, it was Wednesday night, started feeling really weird. And then Thursday, that's when I got whacked with everything.
Right.
Thought I got hit by a truck. Like body's hurt, or my body was aching, everything. And then so all day Thursday in bed, just sleeping it off. By Friday, 12 o'clock, dude, I felt like $1 million.
Within 24 hours, you felt like $1 million.
36 hours.
Now, what were your symptoms when you had this?
Your body aches. I just remember the body aches, to be totally honest with you. And it's just ridiculously tired. And then, like by noon on Friday, I felt fine. But so when I was down, I was texting my mom. I was like, hey, I don't want to scare you or anything. I said, but I think I got it. I was like, can you just do me a favor and just take some vitamin C and some vitamin D and just,
Quercetin, zinc, magnesium.
Well, they don't have all that stuff. And I know. But yeah, so, and she's like, yeah, you should. And so she's worried about me, and I'm like, I'm fine. Like I'm young. I know I can knock this. I never get sick. The last time I got sick was when I had the flu, which is like 4 years prior.
Right.
And I will easily say, and I know everyone's story is different. That's why this thing is so messed up. When I had the flu, that felt like I got whacked with a train, and then the tractor trailer came. It sucked, and it was painful. This was a walk in the park compared to that. Easy. So yeah, I'm going. So I didn't want to go get tested because I was 99% sure I had it, because after Friday, that's when I started losing my taste of, or my sense of smell and taste. So I was like, that's what it was.
After you felt like $1 million.
Yeah, that's what the body aches left on Friday, but then that's when the taste and smell thing came into play. But I wasn't going to go get tested. I was just going to do my due diligence and stay away from everybody, like they say, like just common courtesy, because we don't know what this is.
Right.
And then
wait, what month is this?
This is so it was the last week in June when we went to South Carolina, and then first week in July.
Okay.
So it was July 4th. So but yeah, I wasn't going to get tested because at the time I was like, Lackawanna County was an island,
right?
With everything being shut down, I was like, I'm not going to go add to the numbers. I want to get back to life,
right? So
I just stayed home, but I'm in constant contact with them. I'm calling them every day. I text them. I'm like, hey, did you check your temperature? Because I didn't have a temperature. At least it wasn't that bad. I'm sorry, I'm incorrect. I did have a temperature, but it wasn't skyrocketing like my dad's did. My dad's went up to like 104.
Right.
So he was doing good. I think it was up until about Wednesday or Thursday the following week. That's when he started taking.
So it was like eight or so days after you fist bumped him.
It was a week.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. So it was around the Tuesday.
Okay. So Wednesday. Tuesday. Yeah. Okay.
And then that's when I started really freaking out, because I'm like, I think I gave it to him, and I know he had issues. So he was anemic. He had I don't know how many times he had pneumonia. He had Lyme disease. And I think he definitely had a slight issue with his kidneys too.
Okay. So I mean, he's in the category of like 5-6 comorbidities.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're doing our due diligence, and or I'm doing my due diligence and just checking up on him. Just want to make sure they keep it down, because my mom, my dad, and my grandmother all live together. And if anything that I didn't think that was going to survive, it was my grandmother, because she's like pushing 87, 88, right, somewhere around there, and she has asthma, and she's a small little thing, like she's knee height of a grasshopper.
Right. Okay. Okay, keep going. I've never heard that, but keep going.
So I'm just, checking on everything. And then, he started eventually, showing a high temp, and then everybody started showing a high temp. And
that's in the house.
Yeah. But then it took about a week before things really started, going really south.
So 2 weeks after the fist bump.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
So we were about going into like that third week. He was what was I thinking?
Yeah. What were you thinking that first week? What were you thinking?
I was going out of my mind because I didn't want anything to happen. I didn't want to be the reason, because I'm thinking I was being selfish because I needed to taste life again. I was going out of my mind.
Right.
And here I go and do it. And then I gave it to my dad.
And your mother.
And your grandmother. The whole household.
But you have no idea of knowing that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But in your brain.
But everyone's trying, and to put this out there, like, I'm not at that point where I will never be at that point. Like I've come to my, my understanding of it in a good place in my head. But yeah, so everyone keeps trying to walk me off of that bridge because they're like, oh, I had to been the technician, because the technician was, closer to your dad and just dealing with your dad. And,
it seems like in situations, and I don't want to cut you off on your story. A lot of the times it seems like in situations like that, like, people always need to have an answer. They need to know why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They need to know, or they at least know, like, why me? Mm-hmm. Or you know what I mean? Like, why am I the one who did this? Why did this happen? I mean, like, with the nonprofit works that I do and the traumatic stories that I've heard, it's like they all ask why, like, why me? Why me? Why me? And the honest answer is well, it's just the universe, man.
That's how I've come to basically figure it out in my head. Like, I basically had to come to a realization that, like, you can wear 2 masks, 3 masks, however many masks you think is going to make you safe. You can go I'll get all 3 of the vaccines if you want, if that's going to make you safe.
Right.
No matter what, you're not changing that number when you're called. No matter what religion you guys want to follow.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian, so yeah. So there's nothing that I could have done to change that. If that's how he was supposed to go, that's how he's supposed to go.
So 2 weeks after the fist bump so a week after their first infection is when you started to feel.
Yeah. So then when
shit started to.
And then what happened was,
what was happening in that time? Was anybody talking to doctors? Was anybody?
So that's what he got pissed off about. So
your dad.
Yeah. Because what was happening was he was contacting his family doctor, and she wouldn't let him come see him because we weren't allowed. We had to do Zoom meetings. So he's like, I'm not doing that. He's like, she can't check my vitals. She can't listen to my lungs. She can't listen to my heart. She can't check my temperature. She's just going off of what I'm telling her. He's like, he's like, that's pointless. So, but he was still in contact with her, but what is she going to do?
Nothing. She can't take a vital.
Right. Exactly. So then I'm done. So now we're going into, let's see. So after that, I remember being over the house when he was sick, and it got so bad, his temperature skyrocketed up to 104. And then his family doctor.
Here's Aja. Come on in, Aja.
What's up, bud?
Which, you gonna use that guy? All right. This is Chad.
What's up, Chad?
Him and Alex. Alex is the connecting tissue amongst all of you. Not to make you sad, but Chad's in the middle of telling a sad story.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sad. You could wear those black headphones too. Huh? There you go.
So, so to go back to the story. So I remember being over the house, and he was, his temperature spiked up to like a 104. And that's when we were really starting to get scared, because we're like, where's the point of no return where your organs are going to start melting, and you start dealing with that internal damage. So he called it.
Is that what happens when your temperature goes up that high? Like your organs start to fail?
It'd be just organ failure. Yeah.
Yeah. But,
his family doctor told him to, this is the weirdest thing, but it kind of made sense to me because I used to do it as a kid. Like when I was sick, my healthy, thing, like going to the gym, I'd just like, I'll just go sit in the sauna.
Right.
And it worked. Like I've done it plenty of times. Like, so what the doctor told him was go into the bedroom, shut all the windows, shut the fan off, sweat it out.
That's what the advice was from his doctor.
Mm-hmm. So he tried that, and the next day I had
not like take a Motrin.
I think she did say. I think that I now that you say that, I think she did say taking Motrin.
But there was nothing like a Z-Pack
no Z-Packs, nothing like that. No.
Zithromycin.
No antibiotic. No, what's the other one? Doxycycline. Nope, none of that.
Not even a thought. Did he ask for it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. So the next day I had a photo shoot and I'm on that and I get the call while I'm
the
on
day after he's sweating it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm on a photo shoot and I said, my mom calls me. She's in tears. She's like, I really think we got to get your dad down to the hospital. And he was petrified to go. He did not want to go because everything we all heard was like, I feel bad. I'm not.
No, sorry.
Because you're like over here.
No,
What, you never had a black guy behind you?
No, it's not that. It's just, I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel like I'm not like talking to you. So I'm on the photo shoot and she calls me and she's petrified and I'm like, all right. I'm on a shoot. I'll try and wrap things up real quick. Tell them the situation and
Did your heart hit your fucking throat in that moment?
Yeah, because it's everything that we've heard. Like you go to the hospital, you're not coming back.
Right.
It's what we all thought. And that's literally his fear. And she even told me like after that everything happened, we got talking about it and she said he was dragging his feet the whole entire time because he didn't want to go because that's what he was afraid of.
Now in the meantime, your grandmother and your mother are they okay now?
Oh yeah.
Like at that time period, at that moment in time, they were okay.
They had high temperatures and that was it. High temperatures and the same thing that I had. It was like a constant clearing of your throat.
Like a
yeah. That was it. Not a cough, just that.
Okay.
So they end up going to. So I told her,
and so what you're telling me is like not to be hyperbolic, but it was I do not want to go to the hospital. Yeah. Like I am fucking terrified of going there.
But not only that though, but him and I are built from the same thread. I don't go to that. I don't go to the doctor. Like if I'm sick, it's like. I do other than like this, even this year and in previous years, like I would just take vitamin C. I don't even like taking asprin. Like it's not,
right.
It's not me.
Right.
But the whole gym thing, I'll take supplements day in and day out, but not.
I'm going to take this non-FDA approved stuff.
Yeah, basically. So I told him, I said, all right, so I'm going to shoot. I'll wrap this up. I said, I'm down in South Abington Park. I said, just stop here and I'll drive down with you. And then sure enough, like I have the Jeep and everything. So I have all my doors off and it starts pouring out and I have all my equipment in there. I'm like, Mom, I said, so on a side story, I had an issue going back at my studio. I was like, I really got to get over there. There's something going on. I said, I don't think they're going to let me down to the hospital anyways to admit you. And even if they do, we're going to have to sit out in the car after the fact. I was like, just go down, get him admitted and I'll meet you down there.
Right.
So they eventually take him down there. She calls me and I'm like, she's like, your dad, they I forget. I don't want to name hospitals, but anyways, he goes to the one hospital and,
but it is in Scranton.
Yeah. He takes the test and he couldn't stay there because he tested positive. So they had to move him to the other part of the hospital. I'm like, all right. So he tested positive. And
wait, he tested positive, but he couldn't stay at the hospital?
Correct. And so they had to move him.
I don't understand that.
I didn't understand it either. So, not to go down a conspiracy route. That's what we were hearing a lot too. We were hearing like, oh, these hospitals are all filled up. But like in all actuality, we were hearing that like, well, they're filled up because they're only putting COVID patients on one floor. So yeah, the hospital, quote unquote, is filled up, but not what we were thinking. It was like a play on words.
It's not filled to capacity in the sense that you could only have 5,000 people in the hospital. It's filled to their level of being able to treat a patient. So if there's
in other words,
so if one nurse can do 5 people,
right,
then that's how they're calculating it.
Now to give them all credit in the world, like and not to point fingers, was that the actual issue? I don't know. I wasn't allowed down there, so I have no idea if that's what was actually going on. But I heard the stories, just like we've all heard stories with everything, and we don't really know what to believe here. So my first thing I says, all right, well, did they test you? And she says, well, no. I was like, did you ask them to? I was like, she's like, well, yeah. She says, but they told me I wasn't a patient.
What?
Exactly. So again, like this whole thing that we're questioning stuff. It's like, this thing is so weird. And so we don't know what we're dealing with, but I'm like, and it's so dangerous, but you have 2 people that literally came in, brought a COVID positive patient in, and they're not going to test you. She says, no. It wasn't until, so what was that? That was a Sunday. It wasn't until Thursday. She actually had to fight to get a test.
Your mother did?
Both of them. My mother and my grandmother.
Okay.
And then they did test positive.
And this is in July?
Correct. This is the
July 2nd, third week of July. July
2020.
July 2020. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then after they finally found out they tested positive. They go through all the BS and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. I'm like moving all around.
We just got to keep it with you. It's like your wiener.
So they got prescribed the doxycycline.
Your grandmother and your mother.
Yeah. And I think it took them about,
even though they had suspicion that for a week or so,
yeah,
they had it and no one prescribed them anything.
Yeah.
They went to the hospital and the hospital finally prescribed them something. Not their family doctor.
No, their family doctor prescribed it, but the hospital told them that they weren't a patient, so we didn't need to test you.
They're the only ones with tests.
Right.
Yeah, but I think like back then, like, you know, when it started for because I have a couple of doctor friends, and I think what was happening was like a lot of them didn't know what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So
3.5 months in, you don't know?
I mean, they're still learning.
3.5 months in after seeing all those patients, seeing what treatment protocols work, throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it.
But it just doesn't make sense. So if something is so contagious and dangerous, and that's what they're hyping the fear up to, why wouldn't you, just in case, especially when you have an 86, 87, 88-year-old woman with asthma, and you have another female that's, I think she's 60, with high blood pressure, like ailments, and that's who they say they go after. It goes after the elderly people with ailments. Why wouldn't you just be like, hey, let's just take a test just in case, and get you on something?
And I totally get that, but I was just saying, like, I mean, I think around that time, for whatever reason, I don't know, but they were kind of like segregating. So if you had COVID, then you went to one side, and if you didn't, then you went to another side, and then they even started canceling. Like, I had a friend that had surgery, like she was supposed to get surgery, and they canceled the surgery because they were afraid, right? So like I'm just thinking, I think around that time, a lot of people were just afraid. They didn't know what was happening, and everybody was they were just throwing like everything at the
wait, hang on.
The kitchen. They were throwing the kitchen sink.
Real quick footnote. This is just a close subject to my heart, so please don't think I'm saying anything.
No.
Okay. If I start getting like really, really, you're like,
no.
I love you, and I just met you.
No.
So,
Yeah.
It's if I get worked up, it's just because like this weighs heavily on me, and it's literally just on me. It's not on you.
No,
okay?
no, totally. I totally get it.
I kind of want to see them fight.
No.
I mean,
I'm a teddy bear anyway, so you.
I would.
All right. So Dan just pulled up. So go back to that again.
So the chart on the left, this is the reports, cases reported, is it?
That is cases reported. Okay. And on the right is the tests reported.
So I am right there on the monitor.
That's June 22nd.
So that's like 2020.
That's July 30th.
But you can see where we're at in time with how
scared people were.
Is that Pennsylvania or
that's Pennsylvania?
I didn't know if it was like Lackawanna County.
Yeah. Dan, will you go to July 2020 on the right one? Back more to the left. Oh, there's no data popping up. I'm just curious about how many tests. There we go. July 22nd, 21,000 tests given that day. Doesn't seem like they were short of tests.
No.
Okay, so they bring him down. They isolate, quarantine, segregate.
Yeah. They put him in. So from what I was gathering from the way that they're describing stuff, like he was in a glass room, and he was able to have his phone with him. So that's one thing that kills me. Like, I still have the text messages and the Facebook messages that him and I were going forth with that whole week, because what would happen is, like, you know, we kind of had I kind of took the leader role of everything, because we have five like siblings.
Right.
And we have my mom, my grandmother, my dad. So I was kind of like taking the lead on and trying to get everyone, you know, honed in on the same page. And I think that was my way of just kind of like dealing with the possible inevitable route we were going with. So it kept my mind busy just trying to keep track of you know, where his status is.
So what day was he admitted?
I want to say it was a Sunday. And then he passed on the 21st or the 20th. So I think it was a Monday when he passed.
So what, 8 days later?
Yeah.
So he gets admitted. You have a moderately large family,
mm-hmm.
and it seems like you took control of the situation because I'm assuming because of your empathy, you were like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
I can't let everybody fall apart. I have to do this.
So what happened? So going forward from there, so what happened was they admitted him. I was that asshole son that I was calling him down and be like, all right, what's the treatment plan? What's the first course of action? What are we doing? When I was in my mind, I was like, well, where's your remdesivir? Where's your hydroxychloroquine? What are we doing?
Yeah. Where's your corticosteroids? Where's your,
why not get something into him? Why not throw the doxycycline, the Z-Pak, something? So I have no idea if because I told you before I got the report. I don't really know what I'm looking at. I'm an artist. I'm not a medical doctor.
But we can only talk about what happened at the time.
All right. So so what happened was, so I called and they said, well, we're gonna monitor him, see where he goes, and then
just monitor.
Yeah.
So hook him up to machines.
Right. And then
do nothing.
So as soon as they told me that, that's when that first day, that's when I was like, well, where's the remdesivir? Where's the hydroxychloroquine? I got told that, well, they're not really effective. I was like, okay.
Who told you that? The doctors?
One of the nurses. It wasn't from a doctor. It wasn't till that Wednesday when I got to talk to one of the doctors.
Remdesivir that is currently approved by the FDA as an emergency use authorization drug.
Both.
And HKQ now, or hydroxychloroquine now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that hit the thing.
Yeah. Because you and I were talking about the other day. Because you actually looked it up, wasn't it?
Wait,
World War II, I think it was actually FDA approved.
It did. Hydroxychloroquine.
Because they were using.
Oh, it is FDA approved.
They were using it for what fever was that?
It's not FDA approved to fight COVID.
COVID, yeah, no,
right.
But it's
off label though. You can use it for anything. If you have stale farts, you can use hydroxychloroquine.
Right.
It's for
to treat you.
A lot of malaria people use it
in many countries in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's actually no, that's ivermectin. Okay, keep going.
So sorry. So when I
but at the time you knew of these things because of why?
Because of the research I did. Because I wasn't settled on the answers that
but
you were
you
getting.
didn't get this information from the president.
No.
You were seeing this stuff.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, like he tuned me into it because that's the first time I heard about it. So then I started doing my own research on it. The same thing with the convalescent plasma. Actually,
convalescent.
Yeah. So I didn't hear it from him, but I mean, Britt was actually the one that found it. And we started diving down that. That wasn't until Wednesday when we actually started.
And you were suggesting, to these doctors. Did they allow you to send them any of the peer reviewed research on those studies that were done prior to March of 2020?
Mm-mm.
They didn't even want to hear it.
They just kind of shut me down. And at the time, I just kind of like listened to it. I was like, all right.
But in your soul,
absolutely,
you knew that.
Yeah. What
did you?
So wait. So from there.
Okay, keep going. Yeah, sorry.
So from there, no, I just want because I don't want to lose track of the story in my head. So when they told me that, I was like, all right. And then it was that evening. So when they did tell me remdesivir and hydroxychloroquine, it's not nearly as effective. But in my mind, I'm thinking
anything better than zero is effective.
Throw everything in the kitchen sink at it. Because we don't know what we're dealing with, and that's what you guys just keep telling us.
If it increases your chances by 1%, might as well.
Right. So that evening we got, and this will live with me. It got so bad because of these COVID patients. I guess during the day, for whatever reason, they do better, but in the evening, things get a lot worse. I had to change my ringtone because every single night that week, I was getting the phone call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, your dad took another downward turn. Your dad took another downward turn.
Every night.
Right. So the first night I got the phone call. That was the weird thing, and it just pissed me off because I'm like, so we had a call. He took a downward turn. I just gave him his first shot of remdesivir.
Well, tell me how you got there. Tell me how you got to remdesivir.
They told me.
But you just said that hydroxychloroquine and remdesivir were not effective.
That's what they told me.
That's what they told you.
During the day of that day.
Oh.
Right.
So that night
when he took a downward turn, so 12 hours later, he took a downward turn, and they're like, yeah, we just gave him his first shot of remdesivir. I was like, I thought you told me he couldn't, it's not effective. Well, they said it's not effective, but we couldn't administer it to him until he hit the ICU unit.
They couldn't give him medicine until he got worse?
And that's the analogy I told you the other day. I'm like, well, that makes zero sense. That's like saying if I have a 12-inch gash in my arm right now and I come down to you, you're not going to stitch me up until I lose enough blood.
Or until it gets infected.
Right. So that's when things just started really getting, sideways. So then it was, so then the next day, same exact thing. Like, during the day, I would call, I did a group call. So I would call everybody and get everyone into this group conversation. And then I'd add into the hospital. So this way they didn't have to explain it to me. And then I had to play telephone to all my family members.
Yeah.
We could all hear and we could all ask our own questions, the way everything should work. Everyone has a different perspective and a point of view of things. So that the Tuesday same thing. He got better. Evening, me and my mom, we got the phone call in the night. He took another downward turn.
After they gave him remdesivir.
Yeah. So it didn't really help him.
Right.
That's fine. So it was Wednesday or Thursday. I said, can I at least have a doctor call me and break everything down? Because he had four of the doctors. He had a heart doctor, he had a kidney, a lung, and I forget what other specialist he had. But he had all those people, because I guess with the organs that it hits and everything, and it affects them, like, for whatever. So on Wednesday, so it was the Tuesday night. My wife and I were sitting in bed, and she found it, the convalescent plasma. Yeah. And I was like freaking excited about it because I'm like, that might be the thing. Like, it's experimental. I think I had it, couldn't prove it. So when the doctor called me and started, telling me, he can't remember exactly what he said, but basically it wasn't a good phone call. But I remember him telling me specifically, he's like, I know what you're hearing about hydroxychloroquine and remdesivir. He says, but I can't ethically give it to him.
What is that? But what does that mean?
That's the thing. I guess he doesn't believe in it. The hospital doesn't believe in it. So that's. But
isn't it the doctor's choice?
No,
isn't every doctor allowed to prescribe whatever they feel will help their patient?
Right.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because they could get sued, right? And a lot of them get sued, and they have certain rules that they need to follow. So it's like, if it's not in the books, they could do, if they want to go around the books, they need to.
It's called off label. Yeah. No, it's called off label. You can prescribe it for anything.
So with that being said, so every time they did something, they would add. So like with the convalescent plasma thing that I was going to get to, everything they did, they wanted, what's the word? What's it called when you're I need your consent.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
yeah, you guys have to sign a consent.
Yeah, a consent waiver.
Yeah, we didn't have to sign anything. They just needed the verbal consent. Yeah, I have the consent to do this. I have the consent to do that. I'm sorry, I did screw up in a part of the story. So it was Tuesday night. He went actually on the ventilation unit.
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
The same night they gave him remdesivir?
The night after.
Okay.
Because it was a Monday when he got the remdesivir. Tuesday night he went on the ventilation unit. Because this is Wednesday.
Okay.
Because that's why the physician called me to give me the cap on everything. And when they put I think it was a Wednesday. Yeah, because that was why the doctor called me. When they put the ventilation unit into him, this still doesn't...
Intubate.
What?
They call it intubate.
Okay. So when they did that, it doesn't make sense to me. I have a sensor on my watch, my phone, that can track how many steps I take, that can, read my O2, my blood pressure, or my heartbeat. When they put this ventilation unit into him, intubate, it actually, throughout the night, it punctured it blew his lungs up too much, and it put a hole in his lung. Which blows my mind. Like, how does this machine not have some type of sensor to be like, hey, we're blowing up the air sacs a little too much, back it off.
Like a regulator.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Literally something.
Well, they're supposed to know that.
So now with all of his other ailments he's got going on,
he now has a punctured lung.
Right. So all that oxygen that they were trying to force into his lungs, because it affects your lungs.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting all of it because it was seeping out. So now what you're dealing with. And then
the efficacy of it got cut in half.
Right. Not only that, you're putting all that oxygen into the body where the oxygen has nowhere to go.
Right.
So his body was actually essentially blowing up. No idea medically how they figured that or fixed that.
They put a pin in you and release the air.
Only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
So imagine being an artist. Like, I'm a very visual, creative guy. I'm freaking imagining this shit like visually in my head.
Right.
So you're dealing with all that, and then everything that's going on just mentally, it's a mind fuck. So on Wednesday, he tells me that he says, I know what you're thinking about the hydroxychloroquine and the remdesivir. He says, but I can't ethically give it to him. But there's this new experimental treatment that's going on, the convalescent plasma. Do we have your consent to, and he explains everything he uses. Do we have the consent to enroll him in it? I'm like, absolutely. Do whatever you can do. So the next 2 days are kind of, I don't want to say boring, but like nothing's really going on. We're just,
wait.
You're just sitting at a timetable. Cause I asked him, I said, how long does it take? He says about 24 to 48 hours. I says, all right. So we're just waiting, just doing the same thing that I've been doing, just making the phone calls, making sure his numbers are still up and all that. And then by Saturday, I called, telling me that his family doctor, on Thursday, I was wrong. Thursday, because he actually had to get a blood is it a blood transfusion? Because of the kidneys.
Yeah.
He needed they also put him on a blood transfusion as well. So like with everything he's got going on.
Or dialysis. Do they do dialysis or is it blood transfusion?
I'm not really entirely sure.
One gives you blood, one cleans your blood. Dialysis. I think if you have a kidney problem, they put you.
It was the cleanest blood because I remember.
So that's dialysis.
I remember thinking like all this medication that you're pumping into him
is now going to get cleaned out.
It's going to get cleaned out.
Right.
But they told me no. I'm like,
I don't know how that works.
I have no idea either.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was on a Thursday. So on Saturday, that's when I was like, what the hell's going on with the convalescent plasma? Oh, and I forgot the other part of the story too. Is like when he asked me about the convalescent plasma, that's when I told him, I was like, well, hey, I think I had it. Can I go donate my plasma? And I mean, because you have to be, your bloods have to match up. Right.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you can call down to the plasma center and they can help you out from there. So I called down there and they're like, yeah, you can come down and donate your plasma, but we can't give it to your dad. I'm like, why not? She's like, this isn't how it works. I'm like, but if he needed a kidney,
I could give him a kidney.
I could get my numbers tested and you can probably have me under the knife in about 12 hours. But they can't give him something that I produce on a daily basis.
Okay.
So then the Thursday, then your Saturday, I get told that on Saturday, his family doctor took him off the waiting list for the convalescent plasma. And that's when I'm pissed
that means
off.
he never got it.
He never did get it. No. So we have no idea.
So you thought he was getting it from that Wednesday.
And what pissed me off is I'm like, well, so you needed me basically walk you through this and get a consent for everything you're doing for him. But you didn't.
Meanwhile, time is of the essence.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking. But I wanted to come down there and try, just at least try to make sure and just see if I could have helped him. But you didn't ask him, you didn't get my consent to take him off that experimental therapy. So I literally am explaining to this doctor, I'm like, take the emotional part out of this. Just from a scientific point of view, wouldn't you want to know whether or not you gave this experimental therapy to him Monday when he first or Sunday when he first came in, and he wouldn't have to be drugged through all this, or even on like at today, he could have gotten it. And who knows, maybe this could have been the miracle way of getting past this. And he could have turned the boat around at 100%. And he's like, well, yeah, you're right. I'm like,
oh yeah, you're right.
What the fuck? I'm like, why am I the only one that's thinking of the common sense? The same thing with the hydroxychloroquine, the remdesivir. Like you keep telling me this whole entire time, like you don't know what works. We don't know really what we're dealing with, but you're not, I know you're doing stuff, but why aren't you still using, why are those Xnade? Why is the hydroxychloroquine? I get it. It's not designed for
that use, but that doesn't mean you can't use it off label.
If some people are getting benefits from it, why wouldn't you try it? That's all I wanted. I just wanted you to try it.
Because in the end, you're trying to avoid one thing.
Right. So, but yeah, so they said they'd roll him back in, but I'm like, it doesn't. It's you were past that point. Like it's already ravaged his whole entire body.
And then what? Sunday he passed away.
It was a Monday because Sunday I got called, and that's when they start asking about the was it DNS or no? DNR. DNR. Do not resuscitate.
They asked you about that.
Yeah.
So after everything, after all the things that they asked you and all the things that that you recommended, the only thing that they actually really followed was do you consent to the DNR?
Yeah. So it just sucks. It's a shitty way to go. And then like I even remember the doctors talking to me like on Sunday with the DNR thing. They're like, do you want us to put you on they asked, because it was earlier in the week when they asked me if I wanted to go on a Zoom call. They asked me if they're like, we can let you down here, but you can only see him through the glass. But this was the shitty part because I was like, then this is me talking to the family doctor. She's like, I can get you down here to see him through the glass. She's like, but I don't really think you're going to want to see him because he looks like the Michelin Man.
What does that mean?
The Michelin Man.
He's swollen. Your dad,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, your dad was rather
Same size as me.
yeah. He wasn't large.
No, the oxygen, the hole in his lung.
Really?
It blew him up. She's like, it looks like he has like a 52-inch chest.
And they were okay with that.
They're like, yeah. I'm like, no, I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I if I see him like that, I can't. Not his last. That's not how I want to remember him.
When did he stop texting you?
Wednesday. No, it was Tuesday because the ventilation unit got put in that evening.
Did they tell you they were going to ventilate him?
Mm-hmm.
So they asked you for consent to ventilate him?
Mm-hmm. Everything they did, they did ask, do you have your consent? Do you have your consent? But even putting the ventilation unit, I'm like, that's the death wish right there. Because how many stories do we hear like where you go on that you're not coming off of it? And even if you do come off of it, I've heard numerous stories because I ended up talking to somebody about a month ago after I lost him. His dad's not right. Like he beat it, but he's not right. They had to like knock walls down, knock stairs out because he couldn't walk upstairs because he didn't have the same lung capacity.
So afterwards, what happens?
As far as what?
Like, what does the hospital say?
Literally, they called me at, was it 4:51? I got the phone call that they let him go. So 4:51, he passed away. And I remember going down to the local pizza place down by me, and I said, hey, can I order a couple of trays of pizza? I said I want to deliver them to the nurses down there. And I get down there to deliver them, and it was a weird thing. Like I don't remember exactly that date either because I got they come out with the mask and everything, and they're literally delivering me all of his his belongings that he went in there with. It's weird, but we're all trying to like social distance and all that stuff. And anyway, I know I get it. Some people, a lot of people, they lose a loved one really close. For me, this was a really close one. Like I've never experienced it this close before, so it hurt pretty bad. We lose parents, or we lose somebody close, like say a car accident. You don't get to say your final goodbyes. This one was this type of a death is weird because you're with them, but you're not with them, and then all you're talking with them because that's the only way you can talk is via cell phone or if there are some type of mobile communication, and then all of a sudden he goes radio silent because I still have that message from when you just don't hear him, and then you get the call. They're like, oh, we have to put him on a ventilation unit, and then you're in this weird suspension, just like living like through a nurse's explanation of what's going on, and then that's it.
And you can't. No. Never once can you go hold his hand.
No,
never
nothing.
Once.
No. It's contagious. It's a very weird disconnect.
What was going on in the family the whole time?
We were all a mess. But like I said,
was there anger or was there?
For me, the only thing that kind of got me through it was the anger part. It's like because I actually took a photo of it, but we cleaned house and I threw those papers away. But I have on 3 pieces of paper, front and back, every single day that they were calling, I was jotting down notes of stuff that they were mentioning and telling me about.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm. Thank you for sharing your story. That is it's really sad.
The reason I wanted to say is because what really pissed me off, other than the fact that I got dealt a really bad card with them and I couldn't, my hands were tied. Then I found out that I could have gotten him the hydroxychloroquine. I just needed to sign off on it. But I found
no one educated you that was an option.
Yeah, like if anything, I should be really pissed off at that doctor, being like, "Hey, I know what you're hearing about hydroxychloroquine, but I can't ethically give it to him. But if you want him to have it, you can come down and say yeah. But if something happens to him, it's on you."
So is that a lie by omission?
As an outside observer, I mean, because I haven't really spoken to a lot of people, and I don't think a lot of people have. One question I have is how your communication with the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Were you, because at this point too, the doctors were really working crazy shifts, right? They were going to the hospital, they were sleeping there for 2 days, working 48 hours. So like during that though, like your time with your father there, how many different doctors did you work with? Because the doctors will have to like leave. So
it seems, if I remember correctly, I want to say that there was probably about 3 or 4 different nurses that because I was starting to know them. I forget their names, but I was starting to learn them by name and by the sound of their voice. So I was able to pick up on that. But I never got to actually meet the nurses that were working on. But I do know he had almost dead positive it was 4 doctors. If it wasn't 4, it was 3.
And did anything kind of like fluctuate in thoughts or processes? Like were doctors coming in? And like, was there ever like a point of like, wait, why is this one all of a sudden turning a direction on us? Or was it all their response to how he was responding to treatments?
That I couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm sure they were. Like, I'm giving them all the credit in the world. Like, yeah, not saying they did anything wrong. I'm just, it's still this burning question. You know, why couldn't we try this? Why couldn't you try that? But I'm sure that they were having those questions because that's why he had the team. You know, because I remember hearing certain stories from the nurses, like, the lung specialist wants to do this, but the kidney specialist is worried about this part, and and then the cardiologist is worrying about this. That's what it was. I'm sorry, it was the cardiologist, the lead physician, the liver, or the kidney, and the lung. That's where I was getting the 4 from. And I guess like the main physician, the lead physician, kind of had like the judgment on what everything that was going on. But yeah, I'm sure they were conjugating, and trying to hypothesize, and all trying to keep each other in check. But that information wasn't really given to us. I mean, I'm sure if I had a little more medical knowledge, I could have proned and pried and was like, what about this? What about that?
Well, on the general scheme, I think of most people, we don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I don't even pretend to be. And you say words all the time. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. And that's why, like, I wasn't getting, me, I'm very, very passive. Like, I wasn't getting in their face and being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was just kind of like taking it in, soaking it in. I wasn't going to argue with them.
What do you think about that?
About what?
That story?
No, I mean, very powerful story. I mean, definitely. I mean, that was his story. He lived through it. So, I mean, yeah.
If you didn't know Chad and he wasn't in the room, would you have questions about
no? I mean, no. I think
the process and the procedures.
No, I think everything. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's Chad or someone that I mean, we all have questions, right? Because like sometimes we come from different perspective or sometimes different opinion. I mean, from the doctors, they could be, coming from a total different place because they probably studied medicine a little bit more, right?
It's funny you said that because so the ending part of like the whole gotcha moment for me was, so that weekend, so he passed on a Monday. So that following Saturday, I had to photograph a wedding, and I just nonchalantly got talking with, these 2 girls, and it turns out that they were both nurses at the other hospital in Scranton.
Yeah.
And I just was like, well, how are you guys? After I just got basically like a life lesson on what's going on, what's going on. I asked them, I'm like, how are you doing it? And they're like, well, we're giving them hydroxychloroquine and convalescent plasma, and they're basically like walking out. I'm like, well, that's really fucked up because like, how can one hospital down here ethically can't give it to them, but you guys are literally giving it to everybody
4 blocks away.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, why? And if that's the case, why aren't you guys talking to each other? Because you could be helping how many people? And then what really pissed me off, like, I'm like, yeah, I got dealt, this is what I was going to say before. I got dealt a really bad card with what's going on. I'm like, what about how many other families are going to the hospital and getting cheated out? Not cheated out, but like whatever this hospital is doing, it seems to be working, but you're not sharing the knowledge with, so people that are going to this hospital, they're not getting the help that you think that you're going to get.
Yeah.
That's what it was. But how do you get to the top of the mountain and scream for the top of your lungs, being don't go to this one?
I don't know, but I think they do share information, but maybe it's not as kind of like if you're looking at supply chain where great supply chain companies would have like a really good ERP system where information flows and everybody in the pipeline can see it. Hospitals are kind of like not like that.
They're blocks away from each other.
Yeah, but it's.
They're on fucking boards together.
They could be, but it's like the
biggest medical problem in 100 years, and this fucking 4 blocks away are not talking to each other.
I mean,
the biggest medical problem in the world.
I'm sure they do talk to each other, right? They do.
If somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to give you Twist ice cream with rainbow sprinkles," and it seems to be working, as a doctor, you should be like, "I don't know what's in that, but it seems like it's working. We should try that."
But what if another hospital? So it's like I'm just playing. Like, what if another hospital?
I totally understand.
Another hospital, right? Also tried hydroxychloroquine and it didn't work. Okay, so like they tried and maybe it didn't work, right? So
initially,
so you have that. So I don't know about. I don't know that hospital. Like I don't know that hospital, but yeah.
So I think we also have to take it into consideration of the time frame. So we're talking August 2020.
Yeah.
Hydroxychloroquine was a dirty word.
Oh, yeah.
There was still, so even though they might have known or it was a treatment that was working for them, is that hospital going to go out on Facebook and probably say, hey, we're doing this, even though it's a dirty word and we're not supposed to be saying it because the bad orange man said it on TV.
Not to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about here. It's still hard for me to kind of get through all the days of everything that was going on. I should have written it down so I could just split it right out exactly how it happened instead of keep going back. The other part that kind of really pissed me off so after everything went down, I got really, really frustrated and had his report pulled. 1,500 pages. Boom, got it. Because I really think something went sideways. So
you got a 1,500 page report from the hospital?
Yep.
Ooh.
PDF, electronic format.
I understand how it works, Chad.
It's bounded leather.
No, because
I'm just surprised they gave it to you.
I'm only saying that because they're like, because the first thing they'd say to me, well, that's gonna be really expensive. I'm like, can I just get like a download? They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, all right, because they know. I think that you come in and asking for a report, they know where I'm going with it.
Yeah,
you know
thinking you're probably going to sue them or something.
Yeah. So,
or at least I want to know.
Right. So where I was going with it. So when he got prescribed hydroxychloroquine, his family doctor was actually the one that prescribed it to him. The hospital
in the report it says this he was prescribed hydroxychloroquine
because it names her. The pharmaceutical or the pharmacy in the hospital actually took it off. Like they denied the medicine. So it was intentionally taken away. Like it wasn't like, well, I know you. It wasn't like they were trying. The physician was like, well, I know what you're hearing. You know, we can't use it. No, it was prescribed to him, and they were like, no, we can't do that.
Because like I'm sure the hospital was also thinking about liability. Like, should anything happen, right? So like a lot of
let's not save lives because we might get sued.
I don't know if that's the case.
When you say liability, that's what it is. A drug that has been on the market since World War II.
Like
with 70 years of safety data that you can use off-label, which on-label is just a marketing term.
You read the side effects. The side effects
of hydroxychloroquine?
Yeah, nothing.
You get like diarrhea.
Yeah, nothing in there was death.
Nothing.
I don't know about like it working with COVID. I don't know about it working with COVID, but I've taken it before because I'm from Ghana, so like we do get malaria.
How did you take it in Ghana? What was the process for you to get it in Ghana?
No, it's over the counter.
What do you mean? Like you walk into like a CVS and you're like,
it's like Sudafed and something.
It's over the counter. If I'm not feeling well, I could just walk into a pharmacy and ask for that. But I mean, for me, I started like when I was a kid.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
When I was a kid, I started reacting to it, and it got to a point it didn't work for me. Remember, I told you there was a part of my life where I was so sick they didn't even know what was happening to me. I'd taken all these medication, and it got to a time it didn't work for me. Right?
But did it kill you?
I'm still here, so I don't know.
Then it seems like a harmless drug,
right?
But that's when I don't know the side effects or like.
How many times have you taken it?
Things. I mean, I don't know. Like when I was a kid, like it was one of the things that.
Best guess.
It was, I don't know.
5.
Anytime I got malaria.
How many fucking times have you had malaria?
Like. Growing up, malaria it's like common. It's like catching the fever.
Is malaria like the common cold over there?
Kinda.
Is it really?
Kinda. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They don't have the common cold. It's all just shitty mosquitoes.
It's I mean, because like
real douche mosquitoes.
It's a lot of
So do you think?
Mosquitoes.
So you think you've taken hydroxychloroquine 40 times in your life?
Yeah, maybe less. I don't know.
But you've taken it.
I've taken it.
And it's over the counter. It's like walking in to go, hey, can I just have that?
I mean, like obviously it's been made so it works for malaria, right? So not exactly the ones that they have here.
It's the same thing, man.
But it has the same chemical component.
Everything's the same. Nothing's different. Nothing's different. And as a human being in the United States of America, to in essence give somebody a fucking Sudafed, I don't see the harm in that. I don't see the ethical quandary.
Right. If it's over the counter, that's just like, I mean, it's just like giving somebody like an aspirin. Like I get it, there's side effects, but like, is it really going to kill you?
I probably not. Right. But
70 years of safety study.
But I think the thing with America too, like we have to understand that the pharmaceutical,
We're so happy.
yeah, so happy pharmaceutical companies also want money, a lot of money, so they got to control. They got to control.
Can I pose a thought?
Yeah.
At that time, in June and August of 2020, in the state of Pennsylvania, no matter what the treatment is, there was no legal recourse for you if your family member did not survive. So if they decide to give his dad cat food, nothing. There's no legal recourse for it.
Because I did find that out because I did take his report to.
There is zero liability on the hospitals for a death, no matter what treatment.
That went into effect as either April or May.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Well, because at the beginning of COVID, everyone thought like the hospitals were like, whoa, we don't know what we're doing, so we don't want to be held responsible for the end result of this if it's not good. So the governors in the states gave blanket immunity or what when you, liability. You're void of liability for whatever happens in the hospital. So you can't sue. So even if they gave you the approved stuff like remdesivir, which was at the time was basically the only thing, they couldn't sue. You can't sue even if it didn't work. So how is it a liability issue for whatever's the equivalent of a Sudafed in Ghana?
Good question.
I'm not making accusations. I'm just saying it's a good question.
No, it's definitely a good question.
So now that we got the story part out of the way, so how are there not enough whistleblowers? Like I know we were talking about with the doctors from, was it Bakersfield,
California?
There's how many doctors out there? How are not all of them just going out there and being like, this does work?
They are. They're just not allowed to.
Well, that's contradictory of itself. If they are, then we should. We're
not hearing about it. They're not.
Right.
They're not given the public square to say so, which is the thing that is bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you're a smart dude.
Could it be like a divided opinion? I mean, because like I have
I'd welcome a divided opinion in a public square.
Because like I have a couple of doctor friends as well. That one guy was actually in the thick of things when it happened right in New York. So like he went through it. He actually even got COVID and he almost died.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, obviously being a doctor, he knew how to treat himself. He loaded up a lot on vitamin C and stuff like that, fluids. He rested a lot. So, but there were certain things that he was like, yeah, no, it doesn't work. But that was his opinion, right? I mean, one of the things I remember, he put it in a chat to all of us, and he goes, "Look, if this happens to you, make sure you're loaded up on vitamin C. Drink a lot of water.
How about vitamin D?
I don't remember if he mentioned that. There was something else. That he mentioned too.
Magnesium, quercetin, zinc.
I think maybe zinc or something. There was something that he mentioned, and he said just load up on that.
So here's the interesting thing about hydroxychloroquine. It actually has a thing in it called quinine, right? And quinine is the thing. I hope I'm saying it right. And if I'm just remember, my initials are MD. I am not.
But you just play a doctor, but you're not one.
So did Doogie Howser. That's why they tend to think that zinc and quercetin are so effective, because what they're finding out that it does is it stops. This is what I read. Don't know if it's true. It was in a government document.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Zinc and quercetin and things like hydroxychloroquine, they stop the spike protein from getting into the cell. They diminish its ability to be destructive and therefore replicate. So that's why what they tell you is zinc, quercetin, vitamin D. There was this great study out of those Nordic countries. One of them up there, Norway, maybe.
Iceland?
No, that's not Nordic. That's just it's a beautifully weird country. Do you remember?
So before you jump, so rather than dishing out like hamburgers to get the
well, that's
vaccine,
my next.
Why not give out some like vitamin C juicy packs? If they really had our best interest.
Can I ask anybody in this room this question? When over the last 18 months have you heard anyone say, take your vitamins, exercise, get sunlight, eat healthy?
That's always been a big complaint we've had since the beginning.
That's something that I do. I don't know.
I know, but when have you been advised to do that?
I don't go to the doctor.
When have you been? When have you seen?
I don't know the last time I went to a doctor.
When have you seen the billboard paid for by the Pennsylvania taxpayer saying, "Eat better, take vitamin D"?
Under the Obama administration, though, Michelle's program was Play 60 for the kids. But so they encourage kids to go outside and play for 60 minutes a day.
But here's the thing. I mean, we are going. I'm trying to find the my buddies, but those was like in 2002.
I believe you, Aja.
No, I was trying to see exactly
what he recommended.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, we were just talking about the pharmaceuticals. It's just pharmaceutical companies. They want to make money. I mean, I remember when my mom passed away. I mean, not to get you, but like,
I was just trying. It's about him now.
No, but like I went through the same thing, and I was so angry. And with cancer. And I mean, some of the things that they prescribed, and I remember like I would get information and send it to my friend, and I'm like, you guys can't think, you know what I'm saying? But
the doctors, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, what I just came to realize is the pharmaceutical companies want to make money. They are in this thing to make money. So why would they?
That's the whole case with ivermectin, isn't it? It's only $1 per pill.
Yeah,
isn't it like a whole cash grab thing?
Hydroxychloroquine's basically the same thing.
It's just as cheap.
Just as cheap. Ivermectin's anywhere between $1 and $3.
But if it's so cheap, though, isn't that the whole idea? The cheaper you can get it, the more I guess the markup you can put on it or something.
I think that would make sense to people who don't have ulterior motives.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Healthcare in America is the most regulated anywhere else in the world. Like if you're looking at the rest of the world is. But why
are you regulating the thing that's already a thing?
Because only a few people want to make money. Only a few people. There are things that you could get. Could get over the counter. There are things
can you explain that to me, Aja?
Explain which part? The only few people want to make money.
Yeah, can you explain what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Like they just want to make money.
No, he said just a few people want to make money.
What few people?
The pharmaceutical companies.
A few people in them, or the pharmaceutical companies in general?
Yeah.
They want to make money.
They want to make money. They want to make money. I mean, there's a ton of medication that could be like. So, I'm trying to think right. If I'm going to Ghana, I have to take this anti-malaria, blah blah blah, whatever it is.
Like a protocol.
So I don't get malaria when I go over there, right? If I'm leaving the States, I have to go to my doctor. I have to pay so much money, and then it has to be prescribed. All these things. You know what? The last time I went, I didn't do any of these things. I just flew in. I called my brother. I was like, "Hey, buddy, I'm in town. Get your pharmacist to get me something." You know, got into the airport, picked me up, went to the pharmacy, said, "Oh yeah, you need this." And, you know, paid for $20 or whatever. And I'm like, if this had been in the States, they would have prescribed some weird medication, whatever, that was going to cost me $1,000.
Oh, just you going to somebody and being like, hey, give me a prescription.
Just $1,000.
That's
and
a
this
problem.
was just like, it was just like a little, tablet for me to take, pill. So I don't get malaria. So why can't we why is it okay for me to be able to go there, no prescription, because it's something that is common. So be able to go there, no prescription, pick it up, over the counter. And here, there are a ton of things that you can't pick over the counter. And you just go across the border to Canada, and those medications are over the counter. Like, why?
Well, it's the same thing with ivermectin. Like ivermectin, they're touting that as like it's showing so much promising results in science that they're touting it as like almost a preventative of getting COVID.
So prophylactically, they're saying it prevents 99% of hospitalizations and deaths.
So we take how much pointless shit every single day. Why wouldn't you invest into that and start giving that out in mass distribution?
I'm trying to understand like this binary thinking where, they don't, like, no one will listen to like an alternative point of view.
No.
No one will listen to an alternative form of treatment.
Not to keep beating that on the head, the ivermectin, but if it's so goddamn cheap, why not go that route? If it like we were saying before, like if it's going to show just a inclination of success, fucking just distribute it. If this thing is so dangerous,
Well, because it's like the Chris Rock thing. They're never going to cure cancer. There's only money in the treatment of
that's
it.
another rabbit hole.
That's basically what I'm talking about. Like you just have these people.
But do you think that's what happened to the entire? Do you think that happened to the entire world?
It's happening in like what? How many years ago? Let's say 30, 40 years ago. You hardly get a doctor that would tell you, oh, I'm going to prescribe this medication for you because there's a pharmaceutical company telling him to prescribe because they're getting a cut. They went by the books. Now, the pharmaceutical companies are buying the doctors. They literally like walk into them and tell them, you know what, when somebody comes over and they have cold, like instead of like the normal, like vitamin C, whatever, prescribe
chicken
them,
soup,
prescribe them, blah, blah, blah. And the doctor does that because at the end of the day, he gets a cut. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like for me,
and it's been like that for years.
Yeah, but like what? 40, 50 years ago, it wasn't really like that. Maybe it was just a few people. But the pharmaceutical companies are getting greedy and more greedy, and
You're a business person, right?
Yeah.
You're now Aj is way smarter than us.
No, I don't
right?
think so.
Yeah. He takes hydroxychloroquine before any of us.
No, yeah, because I was dying when I was 2.
What happens to a market, right? For any product. What happens when that market has no liability?
What happens to a market
that has zero liability? What does the market do? What flourishes in that market? What is attracted to that market?
That's a good question.
What you know a lot about business. What do you think? You know a lot about people. You know a lot about behavior. And you have perspective of multiple countries and cities.
If there's no liability, then
my question, what is the market? What happens to a market that has no liability? Whether it's the car market, the hammer market, the chainsaw market.
Doesn't it just flourish? You have
no liability. In other words, you are not responsible for anything that product does.
You can do whatever you want.
Yes and no. Because
you assume the market will course correct it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And what if the market doesn't? What if the market doesn't course correct? Or let's like a market that doesn't have liability, it means that anybody could do whatever. And in a way that's not good as well because you don't know like whose hands that is going to be in
or who's going to get hurt.
Yeah. So there should be some form of liability. Like how much, I don't know, but there should be some form of liability in every situation. But to what extent, I don't know.
Everybody knows that the pharmaceutical market is not liable for their products. The vaccines especially. And if you don't know that, shame on you. But that's been since 1986. There is zero liability for the pharmaceutical companies. And do you know who pays the bill when you do sue?
Because they are in bed with the politicians.
I hear you.
Do you know how many politicians, like how many Congress people have pharmaceutical
donors
stocks?
Oh, I can't even imagine.
And how many of them dumped some of their stocks when COVID hit?
And how many bought new ones?
Bought new ones. Like, yeah.
Now, just for clarification, is it any vaccine or is it this vaccine specific that there's no?
This vaccine specifically?
Yeah.
It's all vaccines.
All right. So, okay. So
just like devil's advocate, the government has a vaccine injury fund that we, the taxpayers, pay for. And I think the pharmaceutical companies give a little bit. I think the till is anywhere between $3 and $4 billion.
That's in the piggy bank.
That's in the piggy bank, right? If you are vaccine injured, there's a process, and you have to get approved. So in essence, I think the numbers that I heard were is like if you have 100 lawsuits, you're lucky if 1 or 2 get through. to make it to the vaccine injury court.
Wow.
What?
Oh, you didn't know that, did you?
No.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. That's real.
I don't understand how are they losing?
The vaccine companies in the 80s said, we're going to stop making vaccines. It's not profitable. We're not making money on it. We basically fixed everything with indoor plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. Sanitation, hygiene. Those are the two things that basically eradicated most diseases in the world and viruses. The vaccine companies in the 80s said, hey, we're going to stop making vaccines because we're not making any money. And that was within like 10 years of the swine flu debacle that happened when they said everyone was going to die, and they released the swine flu vaccine, which actually wasn't the FDA approved thing. The FDA approved thing was a different fucking vaccine, but they never told anybody. And if you don't believe me, go look up fucking 60 Minutes, 1977. They interview everybody. So the vaccine and the pharmaceutical companies wanted to get out. And the government said, well, we'll make sure that no one can sue you. You guys make new vaccines for new problems that we'll invent, and you're not liable for any problems that happen. It's called the Dole-By Act. Bob Dole.
Senator Dole, that dude did a lot of stuff in Congress.
Yes. And I don't think, a lot of, I get accused all the time of being an idiot. I get accused all the time of not knowing what I'm talking about. All I know is that in January of 2020, nobody trusted the pharmaceutical companies and nobody trusted the government. And here we are now, where there are people being chastised, ridiculed, harassed for questioning the pharmaceutical companies or the government.
Yeah.
Now, I can't speak for everybody out there. I can only know what I read or when I talk to my friends like Chad, who tell me their experience, and I go, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
To not give the guy a Centrum, in essence, that'll do no harm, why not? Because Trump said it?
Yeah.
What a terrible reason to not do that.
Footnote. I told a couple people that story because everyone asked. They had some close connections to the hospital. They did. They said they knew the pharmaceutical person in there. She said she was Democratic.
Oh really?
Really?
Yeah.
And that's happening now.
Yeah.
They're finding the studies on ivermectin are there is no better scientific data for the efficacy of ivermectin, which was founded by a Japanese scientist who ended up curing river blindness and winning the Nobel Prize in 2015.
I did hear that.
Yeah.
The pharmacies will now not give it to doctors, even though it is one of the most highly prescribed drugs for lupus.
Ivermectin?
Yes.
How is that not like criminal?
There are pharmacies around the country as of like 2 weeks ago, because what they're doing is they're not allowing people to get ivermectin because they want to prophylactically or early treatment themselves if they get COVID-19. What the government emergency use authorization says for the approval of all of this, there's a comma. And after that comma, it says in lieu of other treatments, which means if there's something that is more effective or equally effective or some type of effective past zero, it makes Project Moonshot or whatever the hell it's called, Warp Speed, null and void, which makes all the money that was transferred, all the fucking bills that were passed, everything, the mandates, the lockdowns, null and void. If there is another treatment out there that works besides these vaccines.
But there is.
They're not going to say it. They're not going to put it in a document. They're not going to say it on CBS. They're not going to say it on CNN. They're not going to say it on MSNBC.
See, this is why this gets me all like pissed off. And I told you walking in here, I'm like, it's where do we go from here?
I don't know. I don't know.
They did this. This is all happening and going down in a year. Our lives have gotten flipped upside down.
Now, none of what I'm saying is bullshit. I would love for, except for the things that I said, this might be bullshit. Anybody can look it up.
I get it.
Anybody can, and I'll tell you what, man. If the end result of whatever the process is death, anything that you could do to avoid that, 0.5% chance, 20% chance, 40% chance, you do it. What people don't realize is that the flu vaccine is a myriad of viruses. I think there's 5 or 6. And they have to guess every year which strain's going around. And when you go to CVS or you go to Walgreens or your local pharmacist and they say this one's 15 or 30% more effective than the one last year. Well, the last year's one was only 10% effective.
Yeah.
It's a play on words. And they're just dosing you up. I'm not against vaccines. I'm not against any of that shit. If you can help people, it can help people.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're avoiding medicines that will help people, there are doctors out there right now that are doing it. Peter McCullough, Pierre Corey, Urso. Urso is the one who treated the president. Robert Malone, the inventor of mRNA. You say these names and you hear the internet and people around you go, they're quacks, they're lunatics. These guys are doctors. In January of 2020, they'd be an expert at a jury trial. And now they're quacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy.
For life-saving stuff.
Something's weird.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for the world.
When
I can only speak for myself and Chad.
But that's what I'm saying. Though,
I don't think when it comes to human life, I don't think regardless of political party, like I don't even subscribe to either one. I'm more now in the middle, especially after COVID. But here's what I can tell you, man. There's a sanctity of life. Everyone has the right to it. And doctors have the right to do no harm, regardless on whatever the popular thinking is.
Yeah.
Use your brain.
Well, now you're touching on that Florida hospital where all those doctors walked out.
70 doctors walk out of a hospital and protest against the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
You just left all your patients, you idiots.
Not only that though, but so if you really break it down, so they're pissed off because they have to treat COVID patients because those COVID patients don't want to get the vaccine. That's like saying that someone came in for influenza or lung cancer because they smoked all their life.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't want to take care.
Or they worked in the glass factory and inhaled fumes.
Or you drank yourself to oblivion and you need a new liver. I'm like, well, that's like them saying, well, you got yourself in your own position. Like, tough shit.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. It's definitely a dicey one. I mean, for me, I don't know where I stand with that. Is like
I don't. As long as you think about it,
it's definitely a dicey one because like I'm like, you need to protect yourself. So don't be stupid. So you become a liability to somebody else, right? I stand by that. So for me, I don't do things that would jeopardize somebody else's life. That's how I think. That's how I do things, right? So it's like when I see people blatantly, basically saying, you know what, COVID doesn't exist, blah, 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 and doing all these other things, and then you're getting COVID, and then you want to go to a doctor who you might be jeopardizing that person's life and that his or her family's life as well. I think about it. Look, being a Christian says, no, don't think like that. But also the human part of me, it's like, you kind of deserve a little bit of punishment.
Why do you deserve a punishment?
Because you knowingly, you just basically disregarded signs.
But how do you know? How do you know? Do you know how many people just as easily, but to you use an example to accentuate your point.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there's a converse or transverse or whatever the fuck it is to that thing, which is to say that the COVID denier got sick and deserves some sort of fucking punishment, right?
Yeah.
How many people that you know that were and probably still are terrified of this, followed every rule possible.
And they still got it. Yeah, I get those ones. Yes.
So to me, that's a zero-sum game on both sides.
True.
And as a Christian or as a humanist, doctors do no harm. It's like a battlefield medic, man. I don't care if you're for the bad guys or the good guys. My job is to help you.
Yeah. No,
Andy said the same thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're supposed to help him.
But what makes you not? What makes you okay with not helping people?
It's just like I'm just being human a little bit, right? I'm just saying, like,
I understand the emotion of it.
Yeah, the emotion, like a part of me. Like
I understand, but I hope that after 15 seconds goes, I need to help people.
Oh yeah, obviously.
But what would you consider being stupid though? You know what I mean? Like
that same person who did everything possible,
right,
has infected other people too.
Yeah, and I get it. It's
not as binary.
I guess
as people are trying to make it to be. There's a gray. There's a nuance to it. In every circumstance is totally different.
So like so for example, right? For me, talk about masks. Let's use masks. I don't care whether I put it on or I don't put it on, but I tried, like, every time I'm going somewhere. You know, I try to be respectful of everybody that is there because, I mean, I know we are in a pandemic. So if I'm going to stay, you know, some distance away, like if you like me to put on masks and things like that, I'll put it on. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to protect you. I want to protect myself as well. So I look at that and like, okay, I'm being responsible, right? It doesn't mean I'm not going to catch it. It doesn't mean you're not going to catch it, but we are both being responsible. But it's like on the other side, on the flip side, is like you have some people that like totally have a huge disregard for, like, they don't care, they don't want to put on the mask. And even if you tell them that, hey, this is how I feel, like, you put on the mask. No, it is my right. And I'm thinking about that. I'm like, so then maybe if that's how you're thinking, and I guess, like, you know, I'm just thinking a little too far, because being a Christian, like I've heard some Christians say, "Oh, God is going to cure me," you know, and I'm a Christian. I don't think that way. So if you want to have disregard because you believe God is going to cure you, then you should believe that. Then don't go to the doctor. Don't go and jeopardize that doctor's life and his or her family's life, because your God is going to cure you, right? Because you had blatant disregard for simple rules or whatever that said put on them.
But everybody has a right to be an asshole, whether you like it or not. If you don't think that there's people out there going like, anybody who doesn't get a vaccine should fucking die, they're not being assholes.
No, but here's the thing. Everybody has a right to be an asshole, and I get it. But also, there are consequences for everything that we do.
So, not to get too far off. So, going to what you were saying about being, I think it's more respectful than being responsible, because it depends on which card we're reading here or going off of. Because do masks work or do they not work? Because it's, again, how far we want to go down the rabbit hole. I've listened to tons of news, the whole Fauci emails and all that bullshit. How many times has the masks don't work? And then he flip-flops and he says masks do work. And then he's like, well, we should wear 2 masks. But to get in my ultimate point, so the way that I came to my dad's like an acceptance of it, being a Christian myself, that was his route. That was how his story was ending.
Yeah.
You can wear 2 masks. And I said this earlier. You can wear 2 masks. You can wear 3, 4, however many you want that you feel is going to keep you safe. That's you. You get all the 3 vaccines. That's you. Yeah. Whatever you feel safe with. But you're not changing your number.
Totally.
If you're going to die of COVID, you're going to die of COVID.
Yeah.
That's how it's
totally. Like, yeah. I mean, if that's right. What God says, like, today you're going.
Exactly. You're not changing that. Change that. You can try all you want.
Yeah.
So that's how.
But I just think that people should be respectful.
That's different.
No, yeah, and I get it.
Respect has nothing to do with health and safety either, though.
But like, can we just all be respectful? Can we all just?
I think when it comes, I'm still trying to send you this video.
All right.
I think when it comes to these things that we're so divided on, right? And trust me, man, I would love to be polite, and I would love to be respectful. I think where the problem comes in, it's almost like, I mean, we're talking about people's lives, right? We're talking about your life, right? I think Chad, Aja, Dan, myself, your universe, the way your consciousness, your essence, you as a human being is yours and yours alone. And you're supposed to have these God-given inalienable rights, right? Especially in this country. I think what happens when we look at people and we say, hey, why can't they just not be rude, or why can't they just, do whatever, is because they've had enough. If you look at the data on all of this, and then not the fear porn, but if you actually learn how to read scientific documents from reliable fucking sources, it's out there. The information's there. These are the people who have read it. The two most skeptical groups of getting the vaccine are people who are not college educated and PhDs.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I thought it was like the minority group community.
Sure. Uneducated. No college degree. Do you know why?
Like all minority.
70% of African Americans will not get the vaccine.
That I heard.
70%.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That means your mask mandates, your vax card, all that stuff. New York City, heavily populated with minorities.
Yeah.
They're no longer allowed to be able to go to gyms, movie theaters, restaurants, churches.
Regardless of their medical.
Regardless of their medical condition.
There is nothing that you think can stop it.
I don't think that is right. I mean, I don't think that's right as well.
Why would it be PhDs and the uneducated?
I'm still trying to think of the uneducated. I don't know.
I'll tell you why.
Because I don't know.
Because they've never trusted the government. And the PhDs, they know what they're talking about. Those are the two groups that are the most vaccine hesitant.
Really?
But they don't tell you that on CNN, MSNBC.
Yeah. I mean, I just know that a lot of minority groups don't want to get it. And I understand it more from like being a minority myself, from that community where everything gets tested on us. And
what they did is the ones who don't trust the government have been reading for years. Just because they don't have that piece of paper on their wall does not mean that they are dumb. These are the anti-vaxxers, those groups, which the vaccine hesitant have somehow got put in that group. The vaccine hesitant are not anti-vax. They're just anti-vax, anti this one.
Yeah.
They have certain trepidations for a good reason.
Which totally makes sense. I mean,
the ones who couldn't go to college said, I don't know how the hell I'm going to take care of my kid, but I'm going to read everything I can because I learned about this thing called the internet, and every company has to publicly disclose all the shit that's out there. So whether it's Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson, whatever products they have out there, there's government studies. It's on the CDC, the FDA, the NIAID, the NIH. They have to publicly put it out there, let alone the universities, the colleges. They have to put that information out there too. It's publicly available.
But how many people are going to read?
Everyone who didn't go to college.
Well, that's like how many people didn't read the fact that it didn't really get FDA approved.
Yeah.
And that literally got touted on major news.
It's justifying mandates. It's this FDA approval is justifying mandates. It wasn't FDA approved.
No.
Did I send you that thing about the NIH?
The NIAID, you mean?
NIH.
No, I don't know.
So the FDA, the FDA does not actually test the products.
Oh, yeah, you did send me that.
The NIH tests it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so the NIH tests the products and then gives their findings to the FDA. And then so the lead, what's her name?
I forget her name.
Well, I know her name, but I don't know what her title was, but I think she's the CEO of NIH. It's Christine Grady. And then if you Google who Christine Grady is, fucking it's Anthony Fauci's wife.
Oh, really?
She just doesn't use his last name. It's like, what the fuck? We're living a goddamn Jack Ryan special.
Yeah. No.
Like, who would have thought of that?
This world is crazy. This world is crazy.
Can I play something for you guys real quick?
No.
And then I want to pose a question.
No, you can't play.
We have a couple minutes, and I just kind of want just one, young Jamie. And remember, I muted it. So drag it over, make it big. And I just want to explain to everybody what this is real quick. This is a woman who earlier this week spoke at a school board meeting. I don't know if she's right. I don't know if she is who she says she is. But I'd like for you guys to hear what she has to say.
As a lot of people are guilty of cross-contamination by placing their masks on a surface. Thank you. Don't forget the microphone. You touched it. I'm not afraid of COVID. I'm more afraid of the biologics. All right, so my name is Kristen Megan Kelly. I reside in Hudsonville. I'm here today representing a lot of my neighbors and friends who have children at this school. I can confidently say I am the only subject matter expert in this room. You've heard from a pediatrician, you've heard from healthcare workers. I am the only subject matter expert in this room to speak on masks. I applaud the parents who've done their due diligence. I'm going to tell you a little bit of my background. I have spent the past 19 years working the field of occupational and environmental toxicology as a senior industrial hygienist. I am cross-credentialed in public health, decontamination site management. I've had an infection control and prevention committees, infection disease committees in hospitals. In fact, hospitals cannot be built, like if you have new construction, because I spent most of my career in healthcare, they cannot build a building without consulting with an industrial hygienist. Why? I'm going to explain that. So you have to understand my frustrations. I'm glad I went last because then I can address some of the fear that I'm hearing and the misinformation. I'm going to give you some credit for the fact that you haven't heard of my profession, most likely, because the media has the MDs and the DOs and the nurses on TV. They are skilled. They treat people. I protect people. And I train those doctors that are on TV, and they are not telling you the truth. The doctors that are telling you the truth, by the way, are here in town. The frontline doctors, neurologists, pediatricians, the ones I work with around the country are here this weekend at an event. And we are trying to let all the superintendents know, all the staff know. I understand you've been led wrong. This is not political for me. I'm a military veteran. I spent 9 years in the Air Force working in bioenvironmental engineering. Those burn pits you heard of, we air sampled them. 9/11, we air sampled them. Tell me why now, during every previous pandemic, my profession has been involved with air sampling and doing risk mitigation, selecting the controls. Why were we ignored during COVID? That's right, because this is not about the health and safety. That's not my opinion, that is fact. Because the fact is, every single mask that someone has on this room has 0% efficacy. The reason I know that is because I am a court-credentialed expert. I have been on countless court cases over the past year, and I've won every single one in favor of doctors I've defended, military people, you name it. Teachers suing their employers. I've protected them, and we've won every case because the science is on my side. So please write this down. Everybody write this down. Go on YouTube and look up Petty Podcast. Petty, Stephen Petty is a mentor of mine. He's the highest credentialed industrial hygienist in my field. I'm trying to get you to understand that masks do not work. We must follow something called the hierarchy of controls. It's a little upside down pyramid. We cannot engineer out the hazard. We cannot substitute out the hazard. It's not a chemical. We have a virus. It's aerosolized. Do you know that one COVID micron is 40,000 times smaller in area than the cross-section of a human hair? Look at one piece of human hair.
40,000 times.
They're not tight-fitting. Masks do not stop a virus. In my almost 20 years in this profession, we have never, ever in any setting, military, hospital, nothing. And I managed the decon line of the city of Chicago in the event of pandemic. We never put people in masks. We put them in respiratory protection. The reason we don't put people in masks is because we did a violet test and we put powder on surfaces and didn't tell the healthcare workers and the military people bringing them in. They kept touching their mask. They had it in their hair, they had it on their water bottles. Every person in this room has touched their mask. I've seen them. And I'm not trying to shame you. I understand you've been misguided and you're not following 29 CFR 1910.134 Appendix D in an occupational setting that if you're going to electively wear a mask that's not rated to protect you from the hazard, you must be trained on the limitation, storage, cleaning, usage. The pediatrician that was up here and set her mask on here, no disrespect, she loses all credibility. Because in a healthcare setting, I would write her up to 8 o'clock. I would write her up that do that. So okay, thank you. Please understand, I'm not just here to complain. I'm going to tell you what you can do. You ready? You follow the hierarchy of controls. And to the superintendent, I can, after the fact, you can look at my number. I don't give my address for security reasons, but I can guide you. There was engineering controls, dilution and destruction technology. 10 grand a building. Use your COVID funds. I waive air. No profit off that. That's just a brand I like. It will kill all viruses, bacteria, and mold in your buildings. So not only is that great for now, it's great for everything. So please remember, I'm not here to say masks don't work. I'm providing a resolution. Engineering controls. Please look up Petty Podcasts. Stephen Petty, again, Petty Podcast. His videos are 4 to 12 minutes. Talks about source control and engineering controls. We are the subject matter experts. Please stop listening to the white coats because the real white coats will tell you I am the expert. My field is the expert. Thank you. Unmask our children. It is child abuse. By definition, it does decrease oxygen by up to 20%. That's why you have to have a medical clearance to wear an N95 respirator. Thank you.
Do you know any of that?
Mic drop.
Did you know any of that?
No, but I honestly, I lost respect for her a little bit. I'll be honest, because I think she came out there and all she did was talk about her creds.
I don't know. Does that make her wrong?
No, but do
you have to like a person to take in the truth?
I think there's there's humility in you could be an expert in something, but the way you deliver it.
But we're not talking. We're not talking about how you deliver it. If I deliver my vow, if I write a love letter to you and I scream it at you, does that mean I don't love you?
That'd be like you. That'd be like you coming up to me and just fucking just rambling off a whole bunch of cinematography terminology and being like, "Oh, you're doing this wrong, doing that wrong." Be like, "Who the fuck are you?"
But I think to the level that this debate is at right now, that's the approach that needs to be taken to get, because she has to get out there, right? So everybody's getting out there in their 3-minute clips from board meetings. It's really the only way we're getting people's impressions anymore of actual people. So she has to go up there, rifle through her credentials and tell you exactly who she is. You might not like it. You might not like the way it came out. Tough. That's who she is. And this is what she's saying. Take out her tone and just take what she said. And she makes sense, right?
Otherwise, she would have been a pissed off parent. That's how you would have looked at her.
Actually, that's how I saw her. I'll be honest. That's how I saw her. The one thing that
we have to stop listening to the performance and start paying attention to the script.
So just go straight to the point. One thing that she said that was so important. I mean, I knew about the mask stuff. They tested it in China, where it shows how it doesn't work and everything.
Oh, you mean where the lab leak didn't happen?
The lab where they did someone wearing masks.
So China's giving us.
But they
that's
also
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They also show I watched the entire thing, where the person doesn't have mask, and they cough or whatever, and you see the particles and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the distance it travels,
mm-hmm.
and then they put the mask, and the distance shortens, right?
But that comes down to being respectful.
Yes, but I'm getting
and responsible too.
Respectful and responsible. The one thing that she said. Because I was listening to the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, of course, cross contamination and things like that. All these people that go to I see them in the grocery stores wearing gloves and everything, and I'm like, then you leave, and then you're going to touch your car. It doesn't make any sense. The one thing that she said, I was like, wow, why didn't you start off and say that? Was when she was talking about how you change the air quality and how you could do whatever she mentioned that will kill the bacteria and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's genius. So she could have said that.
Yeah, but if I get up there and say these things, then everybody's just going to be like, who's this asshole? Look at him.
No.
But if I go up and say, I've done this research, you have to come up with that first. Otherwise, that's the whole idea,
So
right?
she
That
could give
credibility just goes out the window.
qualifications
So she could have done that in 20 seconds. Just that part.
Yeah, but you're
you're
critiquing it like she's at a fucking job interview. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they're right and they're the smartest person in the room, but I don't like how they delivered it, so they're not going to help us.
Because at the end of the day, what she like, for me, she came across as like,
She's not credible
no, she came across as like, oh, I'm smarter than every single person.
because she fucking is.
No, she's not. She can't be the smartest person in the world.
Not in the
I'm
world.
sure,
Not in the world. What
but
she's
that's
saying
how-
is.
but
What
that's
she's
how-
saying
but
is.
that's how she came across.
What she's saying is that in my profession, I'm the one they go to tell them if it's fucking clean.
But I'm sure somebody
No
else
one- no one listens to her.
But I'm sure she writes a report and somebody else picks a report and like, what the heck is this? Do you know what I'm saying? So
If are you just being contrarian?
no, I'm not. No, I'm just being real. Like how, like the way she came across.
Then we can believe
and I'm
fucking
like,
nothing. And if
I'm
we can
like-
believe fucking nothing, then why
I'm
are we
like-
doing what we're doing?
No, it's good to have conversation. I've said that many times. I said it's good to have conversation. We could disagree to, agree to disagree. I hate that phrase because
You saw that and you're like, the performance made me not believe her.
no, I didn't say that. I said like initially I tuned it out, and then when she said that thing, I stood up and I was like, oh,
You missed everything before that?
because I was like all she kept saying like, oh, and I have this PPSCC and I do. And I'm like,
Yeah, she's
okay, I
saying
don't
to
wanna-
trust her idea.
wanna-
Dude, if you're
I
gonna
wanna
go to get
listen
your
to that.
if you're gonna go to a cardiologist and he doesn't tell you all the fucking successes he's had, you better walk out the fucking
I
door.
don't know.
You will go to a cardiologist in Ghana and you tell me,
No,
are you gonna go with the guy with the raw chickens in his lap, or are you gonna go with the fucking guy who's in the hospital?
Obviously, like when I if I'm coming to you, right, for photography or you.
Oh, what have you done?
Like,
How do I know you know how to do that?
No, yeah, obviously.
Fuck that.
I want to see that, right? I want to read.
But that's the same. That's the same thing.
No, but if you come to me and like I want to hire you for a job and all I hear is this and this is me and
This is
me,
not a
and
fucking
this is
job
me, and
interview.
This is
the
me.
last.
I'm not like I'll just
Aja.
walk away. I'll tune out.
This is not
I'll
a job
tune out.
interview. This is the last parent speaking in a night of parents speaking.
Yeah, but I don't know. It felt like I was back at Scranton City Council listening.
It's so, but being that you have that to compare it to, the moment you see something similar, you dismiss it because it reminds you of that bad experience.
I mean, I was just
Maybe
saying,
that's
like,
the psychopathy of it all.
I was just saying like she had the last point. That's like he had a good point in that she could have delivered that in a much better way, and she probably a lot of people, for me especially, I don't know, maybe not a lot.
It's interesting you say that because like I'm the complete opposite. Like if she started off with everything else, I would have been like, she's just a pissed off mom, and I probably would have tuned out half the shit that she touted. And then when I heard her credentials, I'd be like, fuck.
Why didn't I listen earlier?
Rewind that.
Yeah,
everyone's different.
and credentials. Don't get me wrong. Credentials are okay. I said she could have
Pretty
used
okay.
Pretty
no,
impressive.
wait, no. I'm saying like she could have used like her credentials. She could have just said her credentials in 20 seconds.
I think she did.
No,
She had
just
3
kept-
minutes to speak.
She get almost every stage. The last part was where she started talking about the
I don't know, man. Maybe you know what it is, man.
So maybe we might want to play it again because I don't know. Because
I think you're going to stay in this hole. You're going to have to dig your way out. I'm enjoying where this is going now. So tell us more why women annoy you when they speak.
Oh man.
Dan finally had his moment.
On that note, what a week.
The thing that concerns me about this, and somebody like that, right, is like that is the person we're supposed to be listening to. That is a person who has firsthand knowledge of how this shit works, regardless of what university or doctor's group or whatever. She's like, she knows what she's talking about.
But she's gonna be the one that gets kiboshed.
Oh yeah, she's gonna get shut the fuck up. That woman's gonna get shut the fuck up.
Like for instance, how long? When did that happen?
Like 3 days ago.
All right, so you can usually tell you.
So here's the thing, right?
Can you send that to me?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
So to be able to get things to work, you need to put stakeholders in a meeting so they can have a conversation.
Oh yeah, when's that happen?
Right?
In 18 months?
So I don't know, but you need to put like she, with like other scientists.
If you have
even people that are
if
not,
you have
people like,
zero
parents,
if you have zero power to influence anything, you can sit in as many conference rooms with as many groups as you want. If the people who can't make it change aren't listening, it ain't going to happen. You have to have
a little bit.
When have you seen a governor, a mayor, a president say, I don't care who it is, get everybody in a room. I want differing opinions. I want everybody who thinks this, everybody who thinks that. Somewhere we're going to get it right. Somewhere we're going to figure out what the truth is. The guy who says the earth is flat and the guy who says the earth is round. I want them both in a room. And everybody in between. That is science.
I mean, it happens a lot in private sector.
It's not.
I mean,
there are people all around this country in communities and states who are having to live through the nightmare of people not getting into a room and figuring it out.
Yeah, I think that is so wrong. Like, I mean, one of the reasons we do this because we all have have different opinions, right? And yet we sit here and we have a good conversation each week. And I think that is what we are supposed to be doing in this world. I mean, it's just like when you bring politics into it, and or not just politics, but it's when egos get in as well, and people don't want to.
Should have no place in science, man.
And people don't want to listen.
And you know what should have no place in science? Profit.
You should be able to listen. Yeah. Back in the days, doctors went to medical school because they had pride in, saving lives and stuff like that. Now it's about, making money, making $1 million a year, and they look at their pockets and they're like, yeah. And it's,
do you think the doctors,
those noble professions that, back in the days, like you're like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm a doctor or a lawyer. Now it's just all about money.
Do you think doctors now are a noble profession?
I don't think it's a noble profession anymore.
Do you think doctors from like 50, 60 years ago, if they were able to come here, they'd be like, what are you doing?
I think so. Because back then it was noble profession. Like you would have a doctor that probably will even go hungry, but their main thing is they want to save lives and they want to learn. They want to see how things work, the science work, and now like most people go to medical school and all they want to do is they just want to make money.
I mean, yeah, I get it. Can I leave you? Can I pose a question to you guys that maybe we could wrap up real quick? If I
don't go in a rabbit hole,
can we not answer the question?
You don't have to answer the question.
Oh, okay.
But I want to go through my series of crazy pot thoughts. Okay, this is not a series of trick questions.
Can I play some music underneath this?
No. Last time you played it, it was like Ron Jeremy's house.
Let's just see what happens.
No, it's too serious. Don't play it.
Okay.
No. China is asshole. Do either of you know? Put your phone down. It's important.
No, I'm not searching
pornos.
No, I don't do porn.
Does anybody in this room know how many people die from the flu every year, according to the CDC? If you don't know, that's okay.
I don't know. I think it's like 80-something thousand.
No, it's higher than that.
What do you think, Dan? Don't Google it.
I'm gonna say 250,000.
You're all wrong. The CDC says 24 to 64,000 people per year die of the flu.
24 to
64,000. The seasonal flu. Seasonal flu.
Okay.
I said 80.
Yeah, he said. Yeah, Chad just destroyed Boise, Idaho.
Yeah, I mean,
do you know how many?
I knew it was.
Do you know how many cases of the flu there are every year?
Maybe that's where I mixed it up.
Definitely a lot.
Now realize when I ask these questions, these are verifiable.
Yeah.
So there's 24 to 64,000 verifiable reported deaths for influenza every year. How many cases, according to CDC?
I'll go back to my 250.
Yeah, I'll probably say the same 3-4 times that. So
3-4 times the amount of death?
Yeah.
Okay, Dan? How many cases in America per year?
50,000.
Dan's correct. Ding, ding, ding.
He just
No, 50 million. 50 million. I'm sorry. You were wrong.
By a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So 24 to 64,000 deaths per year.
Okay.
50 million confirmed cases per year. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm just asking a series of questions. Whatever deductions are made, deductions are made. Okay? Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Dan?
Yes.
Okay. What? And that's treated.
Treated, both are treated? That's in cases?
The cases, obviously, yes.
Okay.
Z-Packs, vitamins, whatever. You call a doctor. Doctor says, here, take this, do this, try this. If you got to come in, you got to come in. We'll try to help you. Whatever you got to do. If shit gets bad, we've done everything we can. If you don't hear anything tomorrow, just call me and I'll get an ambulance or something, right? 24 to 64,000 deaths per year treated. 50 million cases per year treated. What happens when you don't treat the flu? What happens to that 24 to 64,000 deaths per year? Untreated. When you don't treat it. So in other words, if I'm an idiot and I'm in medical school and I go to a medical conference and there's an hour block where there's 5 doctors up front in the room speaking about influenza. And there's 100 doctors in that room. I'm in the back. At the end of it, they get to questions. I raise my hand. I say, hey, I'm a stupid medical student. What happens when you don't treat the flu?
Depends on the individual.
Not a trick question.
No.
Globally, nationwide. What happens when you don't treat it?
It's the same thing that what we're going through here. Because my case in point, I had COVID. I didn't get anything.
You're talking about COVID. I'm not talking about COVID.
But I'm even with the flu. Like I told you before, like I don't go to the doctor. I just
imagine 2020 happens and any fucking thing for the flu disappears. Any treatment for it gone. What happens to that 24 to 64,000 number?
It'll probably go up.
How much?
By I don't know.
5-fold? 2-fold? 0.2?
I don't know because depending on how healthy these people are as well.
Depends on the demographics. Where are we doing this case all across the USA? It's
just a global, man. I'm saying Florida. What happens to the main number when you don't fuck with it?
It'll definitely go up.
Definitely go up.
Yeah, it would definitely go up, but I don't know.
The polymerase chain reaction test, the PCR test, cannot differentiate between influenza and COVID.
What is that? I don't know what the test is.
The PCR test is the way that they've been testing everyone for COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that's
a polymerase chain reaction.
You mean the one that has the carcinogen in it?
No, that's not it.
Oh.
The literal PCR test invented by Carrie Mullis, who won a Nobel Prize for it. It can't differentiate between influenza and COVID. The polymerase chain reaction, the PCR test works like it works. If anybody's had a COVID test, it was PCR. Okay.
That's it.
The way it works is it multiplies molecules.
How's it administered? It's like
it's a nasal swab. They put it in the machine or however the fuck it works, right?
Yeah, so it is the carcinogen one that I sent you.
Stick with me.
Okay.
Fuck.
You're dragging this question on for 20 minutes.
I'm not dragging it on.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to educate you, bitch. So it can't differentiate. No one has isolated COVID. The earliest they say that they've isolated the molecule of COVID was December of 2020. Okay. It's in the science. So all those cases for all that time.
What, you say 2020? December 2020?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yes. In other words, it's like a computer, right? If you tell the computer to look for an up arrow, you have to tell the computer what an up arrow is.
Yeah.
Then it'll look for it. Make sense?
So all those numbers that they're trying to go off.
I'm not saying that. Not saying that.
But
I'm not saying that.
All right.
And they're phasing out the PCR by the end of the year. No longer going to be used as a test. Per the CDC.
Because it's not that effective?
It's not that reliable.
So what are they going to use?
I mean,
Don't know yet.
Yeah,
They're probably going to be some new thing that you have to buy.
Is it the because I know in the UK they do this one.
My point is, if you have a test that can't differentiate between between influenza and COVID-19 or a coronavirus, and the only treatment for anybody who's ever felt sick was to stay home until you turn blue, what happens when you don't treat the flu? Because a lot of those tests could have been influenza.
I mean, you're right. I mean, if he can't differentiate, so a lot of it could be. Yeah.
These are just questions I think about when Dan and I smoke shatter.
Your logic math is there, the step-by-step process. You can map that logically, but there's no way we could ever prove it, and that's the problem.
Well, that's the same thing right now. Like all of a sudden, like we have a spike in Delta variant. When the fuck did you design a Delta variant test?
There is no one. There is no test. You have to send in samples, and they have to run them in the lab, and then they just assume and extrapolate from that it's everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man, I wanted you on to talk because I firmly believe that it is unhealthy, it is unwise, and there's not a really bright future for everyone who is divided, who doesn't participate in the thoughts of critical thinking. I think there's a danger coming, and I think that we need to be honest and open with each other. And like, look, I disagree with Aj on a lot of shit, and he disagrees with me on a lot of shit. I love this man. I might not shirtless hug him anytime soon, but I really love this man. And I like having discussions where we don't agree. And I would love for anybody to prove me wrong. Except what happens is whenever people try to prove me wrong, they talk about the emotion of it. And they don't talk about the substance of what is being presented. Yeah. There's a big difference between the court stenographer's recollection of it and the emotion from the television camera or the recollection of it from a bystander or a witness.
Yeah.
But the words are there.
This is a mean tweet analogy, isn't it?
No.
Kind of ish.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, it's political reference.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, my cousin Vinny, I shot the clerk. And I repeat, defendant said, I shot the clerk. The words matter.
Yeah, taken out of context.
And the emotion of it, as much as it is terrible.
Oh, I got in trouble like that 12 years ago with my daughter's mom. Basically just saying the same. Like, it was like, I was basically trying to say, did I hurt you? The cops took it as, you hurt her. So I was in cuffs and I had to prove myself innocent.
Which is terrible.
It took a long time.
And
it still
bugs you.
Yeah. When I travel out of the country and I come back, because it's still on my record that says arrested, but they didn't basically expunge the whole thing.
It seems to me like the entire country is you in that analogy.
Yeah.
That's why it upsets me so much to my core, is because I know Aja didn't do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why it really bothers me what's happening right now with everybody.
And it's just like, and if you notice, like, ever since we started doing this, the key thing that we always come back to is because we don't have conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't have conversation. Like, he has a story. I have a story. You have a story. We all need to hear that story, because then if you could hear that person, then you could empathize and you can understand. You don't always have to agree, but you can understand.
But as long as you listen.
And you know where that person is coming from. You're like, oh, so I know why you did this. It makes sense. Okay. I don't agree with it, but I see, and then I'm not looking at you as like a monster or an idiot or, whatever saying you want to adjectives you want to add to it.
I think that mom had a story.
The mom had a story. Yeah, no, she did.
She was probably sheltered in high school and was shut down, and
she did. She had her story.
Why she came out and delivered the way she did.
Do you maybe you two, maybe I can ask this question because Dan and I have talked about it before, you know, and this we'll end on this, is have you over the last few years lost trust in a lot of the places that you thought you trusted?
Yes.
Me? Not really.
You just always thought they were untrustworthy?
No, it's just, yeah, I cheat. I question everything. You guys know.
Even from a young age.
Yeah, I question everything. So like everything that anybody says, I'm questioning. So it's like, yeah, I don't think I've lost trust. I question.
You didn't get any more though.
No.
Yeah. All right, man. How was that?
Good.
You all right?
Yeah.
Do you have to make a giant poops?
No.
Dan, you okay?
I'm good.
Yeah? You want to talk into your microphone?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm good.
How do you think that went? That went okay?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Do you think we're going to get canceled?
No, I don't think we crossed too many lines yet.
Not yet?
I mean, Aja might for his woman hate, but
Yeah, I know. Hey, no, listen, I'm a good Christian.
Yeah.
I love all women.
I've never seen Aja be violent to anybody. So, hey, thanks everybody. And what a fucking week.
Oh, what a week.
Of all weeks.
I know.